too late to get in now, but for those of you that are in, we can talk formations real quick. But those of you who skipped it, it's free to play. So next time, literally just throw your worst fleet in if you can't be bothered. If you're in, uh, I would go. We recommend to everyone in 785, anyways, to go with the max zombies that you can throw in. And then everybody should have a fleet that's like some filler and some troops that are doing the real damage. And your formation for Royal Arena is largely the same. Just put your filler in and then put the max number of troops that you can that are your real killers. And that's it. Some people seem like they're mystified by this event, maybe because it's too simple. That's really all there is to it. So just do the attacks, get your buffs, take zombies, take melee HP. Don't spend anything. If you want to spend anything, you can spend 100 gold, 200 gold, get some buffs. But it's really not worth doing a lot more than that. And just roll to the end and get your free rewards. I mean, I don't even spend on the event. It doesn't seem like the spend is there, even for somebody that wants to drop like $10 on it. Somebody else might disagree, but that's my advice for the Royal Arena. So good luck to everyone that's doing that. I like taking easy gold, so I just bet on whoever's strong, and I think you make like 10% gold or something like that. You can sometimes find somebody that's like a 50-50 matchup, and you can make some good gold. In those cases, I would recommend everybody look for somebody with like better damage stats or a better fleet. If somebody can figure out how to do a better fleet than the other person, or if somebody has much better increase or decrease damage, that might be somebody worth betting on. I think those are kind of the highlights. Anybody who can speak have any other Royal Arena highlights that they tell their team?
I think it's a really close call on whether that advanced trial pack for 999 coins is worth it. You get 5 blueprints, I think, which is about a $5 value, 499 coin value, just about. You get like 10 modify fluids, which is a little over half of the daily special of 499 coins for 17 modify fluid. It's just close. If you are on a limited budget and you really need to focus your spend, I would stay away from this one because I think you're going to get better value in focusing on something specific for 999 coins that you really need than doing something like this where you get kind of a spread of different items, but none of them are really a lot of items. So it can be a good like filler if you're at that. If you're at a spend level where that's not going to be a big deal, but it's still a close call even for a bigger spender on whether you're getting more efficiency on the different items that are available.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't mean it was like a bad spend, but just compared with, the one that surprised me is like the marble event. That one really surprised me that you could get much better rewards for $5 versus this one for $10.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, so whatever, that event's simple enough. Just get in there and get your free stuff. That's my advice on that one. Don't bother spending on the buffs. I mean, some gold if you really need to, but definitely don't buy those badges or whatever. Yeah, that's all I really think about that. We had the Polar Final last week. So Polar Final was pretty important to 785. We finished up 13. We're super excited about that. Some people are pissed off about where they are in Polar. And I think it's important that people don't think they can move up too quickly. Like, don't get upset if you can't move up too quickly. It's taken us 3 seasons just to even get as close as we have. So if you like that event, just stick with it. I feel like we learn something every time. And one thing that I would share with everybody strategically is I don't think Polar is an event where you want to make deals. And this is based solely on my 785 experience. Goes a little bit back to Global Conquest, where have had deals go really well for 785, and I've had deals go really poorly for 785. So I'm kind of naturally averse to them. And with Polar specifically, we fought not even this season, last season, against I think it was 905 when Patriot was there, and 425. Obviously, we know who that is. Um, and somebody else, one of the other nations was ranked in the top 10, and then two smaller nations, like not smaller, but didn't play the event hard. We had no deals whatsoever, but we went into it knowing we're not going to fight 425. So basically, we just hung back. We didn't attack 425 at all. We focused completely on the other four alliance in the event. And it was just maybe lucky that we figured out, like, oh, this is the path forward. You don't have to make deals. Just stay away from whoever you think is going to be too much for you. But I think there's a good general strategy there, which is just like whoever the strongest two are, if you're one of them, stay away from the other one and just focus on dominating everybody else until maybe H opens. And when H opens, you should know where you're at. So when we fought 425 and H opened, we knew that they were going to win. And there was no point in challenging them. And, LG and I had a couple of tower battles that were fun. But really, there was never. Actually, we won S at the end, to be honest. But they had already won the whole thing. Like, they had enough points that they didn't have to try to win S at the end. So basically, I feel like, of course, I would have rather taken first. But they took first, but we took S at the end. Our team was hype. Um, it wasn't ridiculously sweaty for us. And I just walked away from that thinking I would never really do a deal in Polar. Fast forward to our final. We fought another three great nations. We should have been outclassed maybe by a couple of them. And we were basically behind for, I would say, three-fourths of the whole fight. But we just followed the same strategy. We basically just didn't fight for the top spot for about three-fourths of the time. And then we figured it was close enough. Let's go for it. And we fought at the end and we took first place and we got to move up. So my advice in Polar is like, don't try to kill everyone. You're going to burn yourself out. Instead, just fight who you can. And then there's so many points in the later rounds, in the later time, like when H opens and S opens, that's when you can really figure out where you fit in. So I know a lot of nations are getting more, and maybe I shouldn't even be giving this advice away, but I don't know. I think it's a good event. I think it's a lot of fun. And my advice is just don't try to fight everyone. Kind of know where you fit in and fight for that spot, and don't put a target on your back. But 858 and 621 are ranked above us, so maybe they can tell me where I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right about that. You kind of look at who your opponents are and see whether it's worth spending the money to go after them like that. But I think you have a really good approach. We try to take it easy in the first few tiles. I don't even remember the A's and the B's, and we kind of wait until that center opens up, and then we kind of go crazy after that.
Yeah, I think to your point, Holbrook, there are alliances out there where you know that if you guys start scrapping with each other, especially early on, you're just going to end up bleeding bag for both teams. Um, and in particular, you got to worry about the players who are not really in a position to heal. Polar is not a priority event for us overall. It's a priority event for me because I love it, but it's been an uphill battle convincing the rest of KGK to care about it. But I'm happy to beg people to show up. That doesn't bother me. But early on, if you savage each other too much, it's going to hurt the people who are not going to heal. And it's going to diminish the enjoyment. If you get knocked out like in the first 15 minutes as a player, it's not as much fun. So we try and think about strategies that allow our full team to play for the whole round. And to your point, if you go after somebody who that, listen, if you start taking towers, and neither team really wants to blow a bunch of speeds, but they will if the gauntlet is thrown. So, some of that just kind of happens organically. I think it's really smart to not overextend yourself early on as well. Something I do as a player is, especially until the center opens up, my feeling is that the distance between the available towers on the sides and your home base as you're recalling, that distance is better spent using acceleration as opposed to the polar gems. I try and save those immediate recall polar gem ones for later in the round where you're traveling much farther. If you're going to the opposite H tower or even the S tower, those are longer routes than you have early on. So, and you end up only having 40 of those immediate recalls as an option. One of the things that I do as somebody who does get gems and does play, with items, every round for Polar, you can get items in advance. So there's a couple immediate recalls available for gold. You can get a certain number of the immediate recalls, and they're kind of scaffolded. Start off at 5 gems, go up to 10, 15, 20, 25, I think might be the max. But so for me, I kind of plan ahead for a round later in the season that might be more difficult. I'll get every immediate recall up to 15 gems because it's still lower than the 20 or the 25. And if we have any easy rounds, then I've kind of built up some of those items at a more efficient rate in terms of the gems. You also get a gold, troop expansion available each round. If you're of a certain kind of level of player, I think that's worth it too, because it's gold, it's not gems. So it's, using a basic resource as opposed to an event specific resource. So I think little things like that. One of the things that I've noticed is the Polar season gets more difficult as you go on. So especially for leaders who are kind of planning out Polar as a priority, I would think about your team's bag management across a whole season, use that lens. And so if you've got an easy round early on, you don't need to win by 20,000 points. You know what I mean? You don't need to speed and cover the whole map, especially if you've got a relatively easy field. Control your areas, places that are possible for everyone to get to without using up a bunch of acceleration. And I think use those early rounds to just win because you're planning for later rounds that are going to be more difficult. I've been talking enough. Holbrook, you got any thoughts on what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, I think you're right on all of those things. I actually think there are some parallels that you can draw with Global Conquest. I think sending all your troops out early as fast as possible is the equivalent of not hiding your troops in GC. It's been popular for the last couple of years to, if you want to win GC, to just hop in and burn the hell out of everyone's cities. Because we all know that the max players, or the whales, whatever, they have as many heals as they want. But the C36 is going to run out of heals. And so if you want to win GC, you go in and you just burn the hell out of every C36, 37, C38. And then those people are out for that whole round. and it sucks for them and it sucks for the nation. Kind of the same thing is true in polar. If those guys are going hard early on, they're going to burn all their yields and they won't be around for H or S. So either advise your team not to burn everything early, and maybe stay out of other people's way when they're burning everything that they have. So I think that parallel is true. I think what you're saying from a season perspective for polar is pretty much parallel to a GC thing. If you need to burn your bag in the first 4 rounds of polar, you're going to have a bad time. And if you need to burn everything before the preliminaries in GC, you're going to have a bad time. So just play within your wallet, and then you can play the whole season. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think polar is probably the closest analog to global in terms of how it's set up for the new events. By new events, I'm thinking of those that have event-specific currency, as opposed to what you would call, Holbrook, my boomer events. But Ironblood is like an update of Chaos Lands. I think Wasteland is somewhat of a spend version of EW, and I think Polar is the closest analog of the remaining to GC. So, we could probably talk a little bit about the deals thing. I have been going back and forth about this. I mean, I think just to recap something that you and I talked about, Holbrook, is that deals back in the day used to save both teams resources without and so it was kind of a deal by the players against Camel. And now, and this is true in GC too, I suppose, pick a winner or can push one higher or lower on the depth chart. And so they're kind of deals by players against other players. And so I think that's a distinction that we've talked about. And I think, I don't want to speak for you, but maybe I'll stop there. Is that kind of a distinction? Am I accurately representing what we discussed in the past?
Yeah, I think players back in the day used to try to save money with deals. And I think that was brilliant. And then people in the younger nations tried to take that idea. And I was naive. I didn't know any better. And so they brought this idea of deals to 785. And we had deals in like every single GC forever. And all I can do is kind of regret them. Like, we won when we shouldn't have, and we lost when we should have won. And it just all felt kind of gross because it was always deals. And we had other nations that we got along with that we no longer get along with because of deals. And I just think it got corrupted. When the deal is Camel makes less money, I think you're golden. And when the deal is let's all get together and screw over another nation, I think that all comes back to bite you. I definitely won't name names, but there are nations around me that have made deals with everyone and they've won a lot of stuff. And now no one will make deals with them. And there's bad blood. And I just think that's great if you want to win an individual event and quit the game. But if you want to play for a while, then the only deals that you should make are the ones that save you money. Screw Camel, if you will. But any deal, so my rule now is I won't make any deals with anyone, period, on anything unless everyone's involved. So if it's like a GC and we all agreed not to hit each other's cities, great. If it's a triangle and everyone agreed no gold, great. But if it's a polar and it's only me and 621 and everybody else is left out, I'm not doing it. So this actually came up, and then I'll shut up. It came up against, I shouldn't put the name out there, but another nation was like, hey, and we're fighting in polar. Do you guys want to avoid each other? And I actually just replied, I can't do it. because also there's like translation issues, and now if somebody goes after somebody else, somebody's always crying. And I was just like, man, I'm not doing it. I can never get my alliance to really fully agree, and I don't want you crying in my Discord that we didn't live up to the deal. So I'll do my best. Like, if you want to do something like where I won't attack you, maybe. And actually, the guy was great. He was like, "No, we don't really want to deal." I was joking around. But you don't even need it. Just avoid them. They avoid you. It's fine. And then the funny thing is, after the event, some of the people in 785 were like, "Did we have a deal? I think deals ruin GC. I think this is bullshit." And I was like, "Everybody relax. We had no deal. Everything is fine." So I just think they're toxic. So I avoid them completely in 785. Sorry to take over. You're the expert, Big Bird. Tell us.
I can't tell if that's some hidden shade. Call me the
Zero.
expert on deals.
No, man. You
Um,
guys used to do it right. Like, it was about saving money, and then it became about hating, and that's where it went wrong. Saving money is good. Hating is the problem.
yeah, I agree with that. I think I like the way that you described it, the distinction between if everyone's involved. Like I could see some complications with, Polar. I'm not sure, I'm struggling to think of a deal that would make sense in Polar. But also it's so hard to get in touch with all these alliances. I don't know. One of the things I've noticed is, you get some recurring opponents, and so you guys go after each other once, and then you realize, again, to your point, it's like kind of organic. You're like, oh boy, we're just going to hurt each other. And then someone else, like, even if we're going after each other, we're just going to be fighting over the same territory, and we're going to be unable to cover other areas of the board. So it's just going to end up hurting both people. So I think, to your point, it can kind of happen organically. And when it happens organically, then you don't have to worry about people who aren't reading, doing stuff that is counter to the deal. I've definitely been in a situation in 459. We had a triangle deal, or a polar, or I'm sorry, maybe a DoD deal. But, and that would fall in the category of like, all right, everybody's saving and Camel's the loser. But then we had one guy who never read the chat, and he started using gold items. And it wasn't even just one. It was a couple in a row. It's like, wow, Jesus. And I wasn't even online to kind of like stop it from happening. So even though that was a well-intentioned deal, it still went south. And we made it right with the opponent. Like, I think it was relatively early, so we gave them our board. We did our best, and we're like, I think I hadn't attacked yet, so I sat out as a result. But to your point, it would have just been more simpler to say no deals. Let's just go for it, and then I don't have to worry about policing 99 other players who may or may not share a common language and may or may not share a common time zone, such that we'll overlap to talk about things. So I don't know. I think that there's probably still a place for deals, but I just think it needs to be a little bit more thoughtful. If you're going to make deals that affect relationships, I think our advice to listeners would be don't do that. But I guess if you are going to do that, then you need to think long term about what relationships are going to matter to you. Yeah, that's what I would add.
Yeah, I think this topic could go super deep, and probably not our focus. But also, back in the day, everything was changing on optimistic. Everybody had opportunities. Like you have a deal with a nation, then you get a merge, the deal changes, then they get a merge, the deal changes, but everybody's still excited, and maybe some bad blood can just be kind of like, well, that was before. But the problem is everything's gotten so damn serious, and nobody's willing to take any loss at all. So there's some 847 players in 785 now, and there was a GC where we had a deal with them, and God bless Vegas, he never read anything, and he just went and burned like all of 847 or something insane like that. And they were like, "What about our deal?" And I was like, "Well, the deal always had the star of we told you Vegas doesn't read." And they were like, so the deal wasn't really worth anything. And I was like, I mean, I kind of tried to tell you from the beginning the deal wasn't worth anything. And they were like, yeah, but we didn't understand it was like really not worth anything. And it's like the whole thing was, well, whatever, it is what it is, like they would get a merge later, we would, whatever. Now no one's getting merges and everyone's trying to win every single event. And it just takes one person using a gold item or taking a tower. And people are just like, they broke the deal. Fuck them. Burn them down completely. We have to murder them. And they're our enemy for the next 10 years. And when the stakes changed to that, that's when I feel like deals became less viable. So you just have to worry about that. I think at this point, I mean, this could change next week, right? That's why I said this topic is deep. If mergers come back next week and everybody feels optimistic again, then maybe it's a good idea to figure out deals again. I think my advice is just while everyone refuses anything, there's no room for error. Your best bet is to just say, I don't want a deal. And if we take a loss, we take a loss.
I've got two reactions to that. First, I think you are spot on about taking a loss. We could even separate that from deals. I think, I understand there's some people that have streaks going and that sort of thing. That maybe is different because that's part of their nation identity, and that's something that is part of the glue that's holding that nation together. So that maybe is a little bit different, but I think if merges are not happening, then training becomes really important long-term for your players. It's like, if this is the player group that you have, you want to optimize every one of those players. You want to develop every one of those people in your nation and in your alliance as both players and, for some of them as leaders, because you always want to be developing the next wave of leaders if you can, by giving people opportunities to run events and that sort of thing, because, attrition is a reality of this game. So I think there are places where you need to accept the risk of a loss, not accept a loss necessarily, but accept that you are increasing the risk that you may lose in exchange for building engagement, developing people as players and as leaders. And I think if you take short-term losses that are directed towards a long-term plan, I would always shade towards long-term development, long-term growth, and long-term goals. You know what I mean?
I think it's the hardest thing in the game right now. I think nobody wants to take a loss because they want to recruit. And I think taking a loss is the most impactful way to improve your nation, to train the team up exactly like you're saying. There's a bit of a rivalry with who we're playing in Head of State this weekend. But as I say too many times, we don't play that event. So do I want to play that event because there's a rivalry? Absolutely. Do I want anyone on my team to speed in any way whatsoever? Absolutely not, because it's not a priority for us. So it's not only taking the loss, but then it's also being a leader and knowing I can't get first of all, I definitely can't get mad and be like, why aren't you guys attacking with me? But I can't even necessarily speed myself because um, I don't want to sidetrack us too much, but I'll just say last weekend we had Frenzy against the Lock Nation and we were up by 4 billion and people are still speeding right before the Polar final. And it's a pet peeve of mine that people are speeding when we're up by 4 billion in an event that we're obviously going to win and not a priority 2 days before a priority event. So it's not just taking a loss, it's also taking your win cheaply and not letting your murder boner run your brain, and hold on to your consumables and stick to your focus. And even if you're playing a rival like we will this weekend, like my best bet is a 3-day shield. I'm probably too dumb for that, but I can't be speeding around and having my nation waste their resources. It's so much smarter to just take the loss and focus on what you're good at.
I think one of the things that I would highlight from what you just said is you're not going to speed. And you think about the fact that you can't speed because as kind of the leader and the big city, you know, where you go, people are more likely to follow. And leaders set the tone. And I think beyond, you know, the difficult things of not getting mad at your team, not, you know, telling your team not to push, the second level of difficulty is holding yourself back. And, you know, this is a longer topic that we can talk about some other time, but the restrictions that you put on your big players are just as important as, if not more, than the instructions you put to your, you know, the rest of your team in terms of building full team engagement. And I recognize that was a wordy sentence, so I'll try and rephrase. A lot of times leaders focus on the instructions that they give to the rest of their team, and then they kind of let the big players play as they're going to, either because of their spend level or because, you know, they're your better players and you kind of trust them to do what they do. The more you can have those conversations about holding back and lead by example, the more you can have conversations around those topics with your big players in advance, the better it is for your full team engagement.
Yeah, man, team game now, right? Especially when you're getting less merges. So, of course, I have the gold. I mean, I sped around in Elite Wars today, and another event that you know that I generally make fun of. But Polar's done. I had a little gold, and I don't know. I can probably come up with 7 other excuses for why I sped around, and we won. And some people wrote me, and they were like, "Oh, it was super fun. We won." And I'm glad that we won. The only reason I can even feel bad about it is we updated how we play free also. So like our free squad was pretty great. Some people sped around that I thought was super unnecessary, and I only have myself to blame because I sped the whole damn time. And you know, whatever. I probably wouldn't have done it if there was Polar. So I just think there's levels to the game, and as a leader you have to think like, what am I in the mood to throw away just for this event because I'm in the mood to have a good time, but also how bad of an example am I going to set for my team? And so I went fast pretty quick, and then I immediately was telling people like, don't follow me. I'm not trying to win, I'm trying to eat their heels. And unless you can eat their heels with me and you're willing to waste a bunch of gold to eat their heels, then walk with the team. And for the most part, everybody walked with the team and it worked out okay. And I won't pretend it was smooth. I mean, it's not a priority for us. It was probably a disaster, but it was a little bit better than previous disasters. And I still got to speed a little bit and we still ended up with the win. But like, all in lately, we've been focusing on it doesn't matter if we win or lose Elite Wars. If we win, but we were all disjointed and terrible, then we learned nothing. And that's not really a good win. And if we lose, but we all walked together and nobody spent any speed and we worked as a team, then that's actually a win for us because we don't care about that event and we all work together. And working together is going to be what helps us over the next couple of years, not winning against whoever. I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't matter. Pick your biggest rival, put them in your head. You have Elite Wars against them tomorrow. You beat them tomorrow. In 2 weeks, no one cares. I mean, in 2 days, the community doesn't care. In 2 weeks, for sure, you don't care. So it's the team building that matters more. Although it's much more boring. It's much easier to just go with gold. But you have to balance those things if you want to build a long-term nation, in my opinion.
I would just like to add on a little bit about your comment for Elite War, because I think there was a very notable win that we experienced on that one, right? Like it did go well, the slow crew walking together, but there was a particular mishap in terms of timing or instruction or attack or whichever way you want to look at it. But I think the big win is that particular, I guess we'll call it a failure or breakdown, did not make its way into any sort of alliance chat as sort of people need to follow instructions, right? There was no negativity about it. And I think that's the big win, is leadership having the ability to kind of sit back, learn from the experience, and control the dialogue that they're having publicly to the alliance. So I think that's a big win that we have gotten extremely good at. So props to you for keeping us calm and not wanting to let the murder boner run the world.
Yeah, that's like the hardest thing for me, honestly, man. I see too much and it drives me too crazy. And I had to learn, like, if you just start yelling at people or writing paragraphs in mail, they don't listen to the yelling, they log out. They don't read your paragraphs. So we can touch on one of my pet peeves here, real simple. If you have an Elite War on Monday and Polar is your priority, if I see you with fucking Aeon on Monday, I want to murder you. It doesn't make any sense. You're using your skill that has a 2-day cooldown, and it's publicly. We can all see that you have chosen to make a terrible choice, and you will not have that fucking skill for our priority event the next day. But at the same time, it's almost like, I don't know. I don't have the skill. I don't have the skill to go talk to that person and be like, what are you doing? Why would you waste this? You know that we don't care about this other event. Are you just like clicking it whenever you have it? And so that's a skill I think you have to cultivate. And it's great to know the optimal play, but it's probably more important to recognize you're never going to get optimal play. Somebody's either driving to work and they're trying not to crash, or they're in a meeting and they can read commands, but they can't read chat, or they have a terrible connection, or whatever, or they just hit Aeon because they don't ever fucking read. All of us have that in our alliances, and yelling at someone doesn't do any good. The best you can do is not even talk to them. I mean, maybe somebody can. Maybe you have a better skill than me, but all I do is kind of take it as, all right, so if I know I have Polar on Tuesday, then on Sunday, whatever, 26 hours before the event, I already start saying, save Aeon, save Aeon. You're going to need it. It's 48 hours. Sorry, I said 26. I meant like 46 hours ahead of the event. You just have to keep reminding people. And I guess I would just use the general advice that I heard somewhere in my life. By the time you're tired of telling people something, that's when they're willing to listen. So just send the same advice every week, regardless.
Yeah, one thing that I would pull out of that, I don't want to lose the thread on EW, so real quick, I will just say the idea of focusing on the victories within the losses is really important. having process goals and not just outcome goals, because process goals are going to drive your longer term outcome goals, and they're going to drive long term development better than if you just define yourself and your success by outcomes only. The point that I would make, that I would pull out from what Holbrook was saying about Polar and Aeon, he mentioned, okay, on Sunday, I need to start reminding people. I think being proactive like that can be really helpful. That comes into play for us because we've got, Elite Wars as a priority for us. So one of the things that we will sometimes do is, if, for example, Triangle War or DoD is ongoing, we've got like a reminder that goes out. It's like, all right, now it is too late to use Aeon before Elite War. So don't use it for Iron Blood, don't use it for Wasteland, don't, whatever is going to conflict. Our EWs are normally on Sunday mornings, so I think about things that are ending up on Fridays. But being proactive and sending messages in advance, and instead of, I think then Holbrook too, from a leadership perspective, it's not just that you were hoping people would make the clearly right decision, and then you see that they haven't. Then you go talk to them, and the conversation is different than if you said in advance, don't use Aeon for this Elite War. And then if a person does it, then you've got two problems, right? They made the wrong judgment call, but they're also either ignoring or disregarding the messages that leadership are sending out. And so then the conversation is a little bit different with that player. You can say, hey, like, we're letting people know in advance, should you be using these skills? And you went against that. So is it that you're not reading the chat, or did you forget? Like, if you can identify the error that is causing that issue for that player, you have at least a non-zero chance of fixing it. I don't know. So that is not something I'm particularly good at. So to your point, like, find someone who's going to approach people in the way that they are going to be receptive to it as constructive criticism. Because if it just is plain criticism, you're more likely to just turn the player off and make them care less. So you want to slowly raise expectations as opposed to focusing on where someone has failed to meet them. I think about, like, I send out Polar instructions every week. And Yorzy helped me set it up with, like, it's got good font, so it's easier to read. It's in bullet points. But one of the things that I include is, can you use Aeon? And I say yes or no, and I explain, if I need to, I'll explain why. Or, I think we had some Polars that were in the middle of Triangle Wars. Like, we try and remind people to double up on Aeon if they can, you know what I mean? Like, try and figure out a way to double dip on it if possible.
Yeah, we try to do all that too. And, something that I think is free to everyone. I've started doing like one-liners and putting them on ChatGPT and asking it to do localized translation. And so you can do crazy stuff like that too. And I don't know if it really helps, but sometimes people have joked that my Japanese is better than their Japanese, which makes no sense. It's just ChatGPT. I don't even think it matters that whether it's good or not. I think it matters more to them, like, oh, this is important. They're really trying to get it across to me. So however you can get the message across, I think matters a huge percentage, or however you want to put it. And another thing we do now is, at least in our alliance, if you miss a couple of polars in a row, then you're going to go to the academy. but we don't wait until you miss it to be like, hey, so you know the deal. You're going to the academy. Every single polar, anybody that misses it gets a mail that's like, hey, you know, if you miss 2, then we're going to have to talk. And sometimes at first, people were like, but I didn't miss 2. I only missed 1. And, you know, like I had a family event or I had a work event. And the response is so simple and nobody has to have their feelings hurt. The response is like, yeah, no, totally. You didn't miss it last week. You're not at risk. Everything is super cool. We're sending this to everyone. And then by the time it actually gets to be annoying, no one's like, well, where did this come from? I had a work trip. It's like they would miss it on the first week and say, hey, man, I'm on a work trip. And the response is like, great. When are you back? It's not really a problem. And so nobody's feelings get hurt. So, you know, this isn't a job. And so if you're thinking right now, fuck this, I'm not an HR manager, you're not wrong. But if you want to have the team a little bit happier, you want to have less stressful conversations, letting people know the expectations before you're telling them you're about to reset them can really make everybody's life a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think that's true, especially for trolls. Or not trolls, but people who have not grown sufficiently with the nation, and you have to make the hard call that, hey, you're kind of below the city level that we have that we have points giving troops in. You know what I mean? As an example. And the more you have that conversation up front and there's hard deadlines and there's been communication, you know, there's always a chance that somebody's going to turn troll, but you're less likely if you have those conversations up front. Holbrook, I have a question about the dropping people down. Has anyone gotten to that point yet? I'm not, you know, not to name names, but just to know more about the process. Has anyone dropped down and did that person come back? Like, was it on good terms throughout?
Early on, we were not notifying people well. And it was just like, hey, so fuck off, you know, for lack of tact. And it didn't go super well. And those people, it's weird, right? Those people did come back. And so maybe that was just it's fine, but inefficient. Now we get a lot of like, yeah, no, I agree. I missed 2. I had a work, whatever, or I had a family, whatever. And then we don't respond with like, well, that's cool, but rules are rules. We respond with like, great, you coming to the next one? If you're coming to the next one, then it's fine. Everything's fine. Just get back at it. And I would say we lose 2 players a month to moving out, and none of them come back. But the rest of them are like, I had a life event. Is it cool if I stay? But I'll be around for the next one. And yeah, it's super cool. Please stay around. And they show up and they're active and everything's good. The people that leave are either they were never really into it, or some people apparently have jobs where they're busy for a month or 2, and they want to come back. I don't even know if those people have come back, to be honest. I mean, you could argue people don't really come back, and that's maybe a larger discussion. And to be honest, in 785, we have no choice but to fill that with recruits. I definitely post to national chat, like, who wants to come be a part of 90%, you know, 90 plus players participation, front page of Polar. We're having a fucking blast. Like, that's our whole recruiting pitch, but it's not just a pitch. Like, we'll give people a city to try out, because we feel like if you play one Polar with us and you see 90 people flying around, and we have a report from our last Polar where it's like 54 people on defense, but the reality was we had 13 more coming on time defense, and like we were never losing that battle. When people experience that, they just love it, if that's what they're into. If you don't like that event, who cares? But if that's what you're into, you love it. So we try to recruit to constantly fill those spots. But long story long, we don't lose a ton of people. to this standard, but we probably lose 1 to 2 a month, and no, they don't make it back. But that's like a whole separate topic of like, man, if you can't play one fucking event a week, what are you even building a city for?
Yeah, I think that's right. I also think, not to speak for 785, but one of the things that I have observed that you guys do extremely well, and I know that a lot of that flows from you kind of as a leader of that nation, is you guys have a specific, well-articulated vision, and anything that is not driving towards that vision or that overall goal is non-essential and doesn't get, you guys don't let things distract you from your priorities. And I think that laser focus allows you to make difficult decisions that are going to reap long-term rewards. So to your point about people leaving and not coming back, I think the commitment to the priority of participation, because that's such a big part of your guys' identity, I think that's going to pay off long-term. And this standard is a key piece of it, right? So long story long, I'm not worried for you guys.
Thanks, man. It's weird, man. You can never discount how weird people are. I've literally said to people who are kind of inactive, I'll buy your city. Like whatever's going on in your life where you literally can't play one event a week, I'll buy your city. And then they want to know what the price is, and I give them a reasonable price. And they don't want to sell, and then they show up for like 2 more events, and then they get themselves expelled because they disappear, and then they never sell. Like, never underestimate people's ability to be weird, but all you can do overall is just set up a good framework, make it fair for everyone, set expectations that are clear to everyone, and then hope for the best.
I think
In some alliances, one of the things I struggled with is like leadership making huge posts, like for events. And when I say huge posts, they are really, really huge. It's like almost like a will. I don't have time to read all that. Like, make it short, direct, to the point. I don't have time to read huge paragraphs of walls of text for an event like Polar or any other event similar to that.
Yeah, that's super fair feedback. Chaos Queen actually is the one who basically told me if she can't read it within 2 minutes, she's never going to read it. And she's a leader in 785. She's like, I don't even care if it's you to me. If I can't read it in 2 minutes, I'm not doing it. And like, it's tough. How do you express like, what the fuck are you doing with Aeon? You know what our priority event is. Why aren't you guys mining gold? The speed team is supposed to follow this guy. The walking team is supposed to follow this guy. And if you speed in front of the walking team, then you're taking merit away from them. And why are you attacking A whenever H is open? Like, there's so much advice to be given. But the reality is, that's somebody that wants to take an alliance that doesn't know how to play an event and make them an immediate champion. And that's just not how the game works. You need to start with just like, there's someone in 785 who said you need to have like 5 bullet points and translate them to 5 languages with Chat GPT. And that needs to be 5 messages. And that's it. If you can't fit it into that, no one's going to read it. So don't even bother.
Yep, I agree.
That is something that is a particular struggle for me. Um, Both kind of in game life and also is, something that I deal with, although it's less of a struggle in professional life. The more concise and clear you can be, the easier the message is to convey. And it takes additional effort. It takes longer to say everything you want to say in less words. It takes longer to figure out the right way to say it, but shorter messages are better. And then also, particularly in this game where we're relying on a bad translator, shorter messages are clearer across languages. I thought that was a great point, by the way, Holbrook, using AI to reframe your message in a different language. I think that extra effort to be accommodating in an international alliance is a really great trick, and people should take notes from that.
Yeah, and I only use ChatGPT because I'm too lazy to care about what the best AI is. Use whatever AI you want, but I think it's helpful, and it just shows a little bit of extra effort that people appreciate. And then there's always somebody that's like, "Why isn't my language there?" And then I respond, "Because your language translates well," and it's mildly annoying, but like they're also engaging. Obviously they read the message if they're asking why Turkish wasn't one of the choices, or whatever language you're missing.
I think for me, just having people actually take the time to read messages. And if they don't understand, ask. Because if they don't ask, I don't know that it didn't translate well. And for me, that's worse whenever I see, I just said, go left, and you went and sped right. And why are they doing that?
For sure. And another thing that we do is I try to have R4s that know different languages. So we have an R4 that knows Arabic. We have a Japanese R4. We just have a bunch of diversity there. And if you have someone that speaks a language that isn't represented, and you just have someone that is using a language that that's already well represented, then it kind of sucks for that person who's using the common language, but you're probably better off having the R4 that speaks a different language, presuming you're an international alliance.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, like, when events are coming, right? You don't have to send your plan for the kill event this weekend on Friday. You can start right now. So, like, exclusive of events, whenever I send officer advice, information, whatever, I never send more than a couple messages a day. And then I'll literally send like 24 days of ideas for how to update your officers. And I have them saved, and I'll send them over and over every 6 months, because I know there's new people that have joined or people that have grown and they don't remember the advice. And I don't send the whole thing every day. I'll send as little as possible, basically, every single day, knowing that people aren't going to read. So if I just send one message a day about one officer, then it's going to take fucking a month. But by the end of the month, everyone will actually have read how to update their officers, versus me wasting 2 hours of my day trying to break the message up for Camel in a way that I think maybe they'll translate correctly. And then ultimately, we all know the people who are invested probably know all the advice I'm giving. The people who are not invested are certainly not reading all that information.
Yeah, that's the kicker, the not reading the messages. Because I don't want to send the same thing. Some people will say, why do you send the same thing over and over again? I was like, because a lot of people don't read it. I literally kicked a guy out of the alliance because they didn't show up and participate. And I said, and it took 2 days. And for me to say, check your messages, for them to read, they needed to leave.
But also, like, who cares? If you see the same message that you've already seen 5 times, that's not a problem. That's like, great, yeah, I know this one. I understand how human dynamics work. I understand that this message is not for me. It's not a problem.
But don't remove yourself. That pisses people off.
Yes.
Don't you dare. And sorry for my tardiness, but don't you dare remove yourself from that message. Because I personally highly dislike when people do that. So I think it's disrespectful.
Same.
I think it's a few different things, but there's always a few, especially with those repetitive messages that we tend to send as leaders. There's always one or two that, want to be disrespectful for whatever reason. So, yeah, I would.
We invite them back every time. It's like the culture of our alliance is you can quit all you want. You're going to be invited back every single time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's like a no-brainer. I almost try to push people to that, it's like, where are you going to go, bro? Like, are you really going to go over there? Like, are you really,
I also like to send a string of messages right after I invite the person back to really hammer home. It's like, no, now we're gonna make it worse. You thought it was bad before when you were trying to leave. Now we're gonna flood this chat.
The thing
yeah,
is,
that's the good fun. That's the good fun about it, especially when you're poking at somebody.
Yeah, it gets to be like a shared positive memory, as long as they take it well, which they should.
but on the other hand, you have other players in there that try to be respectful and don't leave the message, but then come up once a day, for example, when there's no events, and look at the messages, and it's like 200 messages. I have no time to read all that. What I'm gonna do is mark all as read and not even look at them because it's too much. I might lose something important, it's true, but it's way too much.
I mean, listen, there's plenty of times I jump in the game and I see all those messages and I just click read and move on to my day,
Yep.
and that's okay, and everybody should be able to do somewhat the same thing. I do believe with certain events and certain teams, people should be looking out for certain things. But at the end of the day, yes, you need to, you should be anyway, paying attention to your messages, and looking out for those things, because there's great tips. If you have good leadership, exactly what Holbrook just said, he's going to be sending you some stuff, every couple of days. If there's a new release this or a new release that, he's going to give you some suggestions. And hopefully, even if it doesn't pertain to you in that particular moment in time, speed it up 4, 8 months, whatever it is. When it does become time for you to open that certain skill or, whatever, you already have that little thing in the back of your mind because Holbrook, sent you that stupid message that you removed yourself from, So yeah, 100%. If you have good leadership and they're sending stuff, you should be reading it, but it's also okay to just shut your fucking mouth and open the message or not open the message and clear the notification. I have OCD, so I'm not allowed to have notifications in my phone. It's just something my body doesn't allow me to do. So for me personally, when I see that thing pop up, I have to go clear it. Even if I'm not reading it, I just have to go clear it.
I do the same.
I'm with you, but 200 is crazy. I don't know what you guys are doing. With respect, 200 is crazy.
Yeah, I don't do that, man. I don't do that.
Bro, if I get to 20, I already know people are not paying attention to me. But I would say if that's where you're at, and I think people do give great advice that's maybe worth 200 messages, but I think there's a better way to it. I mean, you should either get more people on your Discord, and that's a place to do it, or even, man, it's not hard. But it's not even hard to create a website anymore. And the nice thing about a website is you don't have to do all the translation. So if you put one web page up, just a static web page of whatever information you want to get out there. Let's pretend I want to put my officer information out there. I don't want to translate it to every language, but if I put it on a static web page somewhere and just put a link in Mail, then everyone can use Chrome, which has its own translate feature. Don't kill yourself with the game. The game doesn't have great tools. use the other tools on the internet. I mean, we're on Discord, so we're already using the other tools, but like even Discord, some people want to be on Viber or whatever, just put it on a static web page, translate it through Chrome, and pass that link around instead. There's got to be better ways than 200 messages. That's madness.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's
people-
banter,
it's not like, it's more like, okay, here are the rules for this event. Here's what we're going to do, and just that is like 4 or 5 messages, walls of text, and then after that is like, okay, if you read that message, add a plus. So it's everyone adding a plus, and like, it's stupid.
Bro, those pluses are trash. I'm sorry. With respect to everyone that uses that format, those pluses are trash.
It's pollution, literally. That's why sometimes I don't even read the messages. I just tap read all, because as Lead God said, I feel the same. I can't see notifications unopened. He messes with me.
yeah, it messes with me too, man. I can't do it. And I can't do it. My wife is a psychopath. She's got like 4,000 unread emails, and it blows my mind.
It causes me physical pain to think about
Yeah.
that many
Yeah.
unread.
we were out to dinner like 2-3 years ago, and she left her phone there, and I just clicked read all. She got mad, man. She got mad.
I guess the main point here is like, try to find the balance in your alliance, because no communication is also no good.
So let me ask this, Holbrook. I mean, so what do you do? Because I'm a plus guy, right? I'm a guy who sends a nice message. Hey guys, I want to see everyone at 1200 server, 30 minutes before Elite War or some dumb shit like that, like whatever. I'm that guy who sends that message for, say, Void War Sunday, for conversation's sake. What are you doing in that realm of things? Or are you even trying to, maybe not Void War is a good example because you guys don't necessarily love that event, but you hear what I'm saying. What do you do as opposed to the plus sign to get 80 something in Polar or 90 people to come to Polar for you? Tell me.
I'm kind of the exact opposite, to be honest. I don't believe in the plus. People are going to put a plus for whatever they want because it makes them feel good and they feel like they have to. They don't mean it at all. I actually have 2 different standards. One, I want to use ChatGPT to translate it to different languages because translation sucks. Like one time I sent Polar is our priority event. I don't even care if you only play 5 minutes. Come play Polar. And a French woman wrote me and she said, it translated to don't bother to play Polar. And I fucking lost my mind. And so I try to, first of all, translate it to a couple different languages, the ones that suck. I think we know them. It's like French, Turkish, Russian, Japanese, Korean. I mean, there's not a lot of them, but they're fucking trash. So first I translate it, and then I have in my mind, standard of after 20 messages, people are not going to scroll up no matter what. No matter how much we want people to care enough, they're not going to scroll up 20 messages. So I'm the opposite of the plus. I'm going to translate it to a couple languages. I want to do 2 languages per message. So I've got like maybe 6 I want to do. I also do Arabic for sure. So I want to do basically 6 languages, 3 messages, and once 17 people post after that, it kind of drives me a little crazy when people just make fun of each other and make a joke or whatever, but it is what it is. We're all having fun here. After those 20 messages, I'll post the same damn thing again. And then if 17 more people are making jokes or whatever, I'll post the same damn thing again. And I'm just going to keep posting it every 20 messages because I know people aren't scrolling.
I want to call out a comment in the chat.
I just want to say that beef needs to fucking should go see a fucking psychiatrist or something, bro. Just you guys see that 10,000 messages? What is wrong? What is wrong, bro? That is freaking me out. I would break your phone.
Yo, that's why I
But
need
but-
him.
but
He
to
balances
respond to
me, you know,
Holbrook, I mean, I don't know, man. Is that something that is gonna is that a lot of work? Number one, that seems like a lot more work than having because I'm a big, so what we do is obviously we have whatever numerous different languages. My Discord server translates to numerous languages, whatever. But in game, I use the R4s, kind of like what you just suggested earlier. I have a couple of R4s, especially with the Japanese language. And I don't have Koreans, but I just happen to know that Camel and translating Korean is super difficult for whatever reason. So I tend to have my R4s repeat what I say, on Discord servers as well as in game. I don't request people to necessarily put the plus, but I do expect them to show up, and I do expect them to, at least read the message, I guess. Maybe the interaction on the message is a lot. I agree that the message, when you open it, should start at the original message. If you haven't opened it, you shouldn't have to scroll up. I think it's a very stupid feature of Camel. Not to say that I've bitched about it before, but it definitely shouldn't be like that. Because I agree. If I got 100 people clicking plus, I don't want to scroll up to see what the fucking message is, because I'm going to get aggravated with that. But I don't think that if I were to remove that from my repertoire, that I would be able to just not do it, and then people would show up. I mean, yes, everybody logs into the game. They see what time the event is. They see when we're scheduled to fight or play. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, going back to the numerous podcasts, you got to have some sort of communication, man. You have to be open. You have to be engaging. For events that we truly care about, like an Elite War challenge or a Void War or whatever, like we do countdowns in GFK. Like every 12 hours, you're getting another message.
Yeah.
Game chat, banners are being changed, the whole nine. And I try and be as engaging as possible. Because if you're not, man, in my opinion, two guys won't show up, and then the next event it'll be five guys, and then the next thing you're 25, not showing up for some reason. And I'm not a huge fan of kick and burn and all that stuff. We talked about that last week a little bit, or the week before, I should say. But you hear what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, everything that you're saying generically, I just agree with. There's not even really anything more to say about it. It doesn't matter how you communicate, you just have to keep communicating. So we have, 24 hours. I mean, for a priority event, I'm posting 3 days in advance, and then 2 days in advance.
Yeah, I
and
do
then
the
1
same
day in
thing.
advance.
I
Right.
do legitimate countdowns. I do 36 hours, both the whole nine. Yeah.
Hell yeah. But I also have an AI prompt that is just permanently, it knows that I'm going to type in whatever dumb shit I really want to say, which is going to be too long. And then the first thing it's going to do is make it concise in English. And then once it's concise in English, it's going to translate it and localize it and keep it concise for the other languages.
Now,
And
do
so
you
I
have a
have,
bot or something in your Discord page that you're doing this with, or are you just copying, pasting, and into game?
I even tell the AI to break up the message into, so I do the 6 languages, and then I tell it to break it into 3 chunks. So I can do 2 languages at a time, 3 messages, and I post it straight in game. I mean, we have the full translator in Discord, and anyone can just go there and handle that. But the game is the game, right? So I want it in there. I want it top of the scroll. It needs to be 3 messages. Nobody needs to respond. And if too many of you are too yappy, I'm posting all 3 again as a subtle, shut the fuck up. I have a message here.
I think there's a place for the plus for alliances, for a larger group of alliances. So, for you, Holbrook, you guys don't need to take attendance, because the expectation is everyone is at every polar. So you don't need to take attendance for polar. I think there are a larger group of alliances that, they may need to take attendance for a given event, and just get an idea of where the numbers are. And one of the things you can do with that information to leaders who are listening is that you can kind of make your goal make your event goal based on who's going to be showing up. So I think the plus for attendance doesn't make sense for you guys, Holbrook, because of the way you guys are set up. But LG for, we use the plus too, but the way you can do it is you can put the message like almost in the title. And like, if it's an attendance message, you can kind of train people to a certain message title format that is just asking for attendance. And so then you almost don't even need to read the top message to know, hey, this is an attendance post. Am I going to this, plus or minus?
Yeah, exactly.
I think another thing, and this was pointed out in the chat by Unknown from 564, you can use the banner. LG, you referenced this, changing the banner. If there's a event-specific mail that contains instructions that people must read before entering the event, put that in the banner, like reference that thread in the banner leading up to the event. So people sign on, they're on AC, they see that there is a message that they must read for a given event. So I think that's a good tip. That's something we do as well.
I mean, I'm a big signal.
for
I'm a big
instance-
signal. Sorry, real quick,
Go.
and then I'll shut up. I'm a big signal, not noise guy. So you're not getting a lot of mail in our alliance. So there's no optional reads and there's no banners to go read. It's if I'm sending something, fucking read it. And I promise you, I'm not sending some bullshit.
Yeah, I'm of the same capacity. I'll message into some other, random messages. Like, it's Void Week. So literally there's a message currently just popped up for, all the locations of main alliances, right? So that thing is already starting to happen. And there's probably, some good banter back and forth in that thread. So I stay out of those style of threads, but I feel like I'm the same way. When I personally post something, I'd really like you to read it. I really would like you to engage with it, even if it's a fuck off type thing. I would like you to engage with it because I don't write a lot of messages. I really don't. And 90% of the messages I write are participation based. I'm a big banner guy because when you log into the game, you see it. Put the red emojis in there, the fucking alert bells, whatever you want to call them, and hopefully people will see it. The game is gonna put us in a position where we don't want to fight with the guys, but like we want to fight with them to get them there. But I do wholeheartedly agree with if leader, and I'm R5. Yes, I'm the strongest in my line. There's a handful of things that I am for GFK, but I'm the leader. And I would like to say that just because I'm that R5, when I say something, everybody should engage with it, and I'm not the leader who writes, again, a bunch of shit, retarded messages, blah, blah, blah. They're always based off of something that you should read. If I'm taking the time to read it, to write it, I'd like to think that people are taking the time to at least read it. Again, that's why I think it's disrespectful when people remove themselves. They don't tend to remove themselves from my personal topics, but when there's other engagement, they tend to do it. So anywho, it's something that, I'd really appreciate my team. And again, I think it's like a respect thing. We're playing a war game. I kind of base things off the American military. I know that's probably wrong, but at the end of the day, like if I'm the fucking boss and I say something, you need to snap to it, and, to a certain degree anyway. And, I think that having the R4s that, can speak numerous languages. My R4 Panda, you guys have heard me talk about her a lot. She speaks, English and obviously lives in Japan. So she's awesome. So anything I say, like in leadership chat for the nation, because my number 2 alliance is primarily is Japanese, right? So when I say things in the translator, Panda will reach out to me and be like, I'm going to send it in Japanese so everybody understands. Cause that was that didn't come out the way you wanted it to, you know? And so she will typically, you know, rewrite the entire message and direct it towards the, you know, the Japanese members. So I think there's, you know,
LG, there's another thing that I use. I'm like you. And if I do write too much, I'll just say don't talk here, and then I'll immediately start a whole nother mail and be like, here's where we're gonna talk. So sometimes, you know, all of us here, we learn things that other people don't learn about the game. And sometimes I'll write a long thread about what's going on in AOZ and what I think we need to be doing and what our long-term strategy is. And that'll be too many messages. That might be 20 messages on its own. And then I'll just put don't talk. And then I'll immediately start another mail. And it's like, here's where we're going to talk. Ask me anything you want about our long-term strategy, but ask me here. And that thread can run 200 messages. I don't give a shit because I don't need you to read that one. I need you to read the other one that was important.
so what I haven't done in a long time, and you guys are probably going to make me do it here, so I'm going to blame the podcast when I send the message out. What I used to do, I think it was probably prior to my last merger, was is literally like have in-game meeting. You know, when everybody was going to be online, call it after Elite War, we would literally just start talking shit in, you know, an alliance chat, bring up some things like you just said, like a message that is, you know, this is the direction we're going to go. This is what we're going to try and do, you know, and it's not just a message where you want to throw out there. You typically want engagement. You know, if you're going to like maybe change your priority event, whatever it is, but those open like meetings, if you were, I tell you, I got some really good, you know, just information in general about the alliance, about players individually, by doing, and, you know, and having that like open stage forum, essentially allowing everybody to talk without over talking and, you know, and kind of engage into the topics and actually, you know, have questions and answers type deal. And we used to go on for like 2-3 hours, maybe not 3 hours, but like an hour or two easily. Just, you know, in open banter in the alliance. And I think we always, you know, were able to come to terms if we were arguing, and or, you know, get better, you know, if that's what we were looking to do, you know, for conversation's sake. But it was nice to get everybody online at the same time. It was nice that you got some of the people that don't normally talk. I always pick on those people. You know, I don't know if that's just like my personality, but the people who don't talk in Alliance chat for whatever reason, every time I see them online, I always fuck with them, you know, and like make them engage with me.
Bro, there's a new future coming, and you know, everyone needs to pick their own engagement level in this game. But there's a new future coming very quickly, where everybody's going to be able to be on voice chat, and it's going to be live translation. So prepare for that, I guess.
I was I think I was talking to maybe V Time or somebody in the community about something similar to that. Like it would be super cool if it could you know, be auto translated like that. I mean, they're doing it with like AirPods and, you know, all the stuff that they got available these days. So yeah, I don't know how it would, you know, sound real time, but if it happens, man, I think that'd be cool to get 20 or 30 guys, you know, on a voice chat just for like the random hours of Void War, talking shit a little bit. Like I enjoy those things, you know? So yeah, it'd be cool. I'm down for that stuff. That'd be really nice.
We already do this in 785. It's only the English speakers right now, but like you said, the AirPods are almost there. And during the kill event, it's basically just pour yourself a drink or light up whatever you're smoking and get online and let's hang out all Sunday. And we'll just be talking about music or whatever. And all of a sudden you'll just hear target, target, target. And then it's shared. Everybody looks and we're going.
Yeah, that's legit when you have the enough people that speak the same language currently, you know, to be able to, you know, have that engagement, because that's just going to keep that core group of, you know, killers, if you would, together, you know, for however long. And again, if you continue to do things over time, more and more people are going to jump on. if the fucking translator thing comes, like you just said, like that kind of got like gave me a little bit of goosebumps because I think that'd be really cool, you know, because I like this style of conversation and you know, it'd be fire to have like 30 or 40 guys in voice chat like during an Elite War or something like that. I think that'd be a really, really cool concept. You know, I'd be really down for that.
Is that
Yeah, man, I want to hear about
Enhances-
your.
sorry, is that feature coming out on Discord or
If you have AirPods already right now, there's theoretically, I haven't done the live translation, but theoretically, there's like 3 or 4 languages that you can live translate with AirPods. As far as 785, we already do the Discord English VC, and then luckily, or I don't know, maybe not luckily, whatever. A bunch of our super strong players are Japanese, and so I want to hear about Lead Gods
There's some
Wasteland
fighters.
with 8. Sorry,
Japanese are some fighters, man. You know,
right? Yeah,
There's
they're
some
badass.
fighters.
So we just did a Elite. Sorry, I keep saying Elite War incorrectly. I meant Wasteland. So we had a Wasteland where we had a strong opponent, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And the strategy that we went with was like English speakers can hop on one VC, slow walkers can take one path, and then the Japanese, like we didn't tell them you need to hop on your own GC, but it was like you guys can all roll together too, and we can kind of take 3 paths through Wasteland, and we'll meet at S. We're all smart enough to know to meet at S if we need to. And so just having everybody on VC, but man, if we were all together and you could just, I mean, I'm crazy
that would
enough. I
be
was thinking
such a
about trying to
cool
learn
interaction.
Japanese.
Yeah, you need a few extra drinks for that one. Yeah, I mean, I think that I love the Japanese people, if you would. I like their morals and values. And yeah, there's some fighters. There are also some damn farmers now. You know, maybe it's the rice fields in Japan or something. I don't know, but there's definitely some farmers. But the ones who fight, man, those guys are very good, and they listen and they learn, and they're always there, always there. You know, my second alliance is again probably 90% Japanese, and I can reach out to that leader, and the leader of that alliance, June, he's been with me in 425 since the beginning. You know, I remember I had to burn the guy like early on in the game. For a couple of different reasons, but long and short of it is he's awesome and great team player in any capacity. GCs and stuff like that. He brings the whole team, and there's some killers over there. I don't know if you guys remember, but a handful of months ago we got like triple challenged by 555 in Elite War. And I wasn't trying to drain everybody's bags. So I just reached out to June and the boys. You know, I'm like, hey, you mind grabbing 10 or 15 of the guys and bringing them over here? Because I'm not trying to get point hoard by these guys. And no problem. You know, bring the team over. They hung out for a couple of weeks. And, you know, we were able to get through that with a couple of wins and a loss, I think. But long and short of it is it worked out well, you know. And 555 and 425 don't challenge each other, probably because of that reason. So long and short of it is they're great, you know, and I love the Japanese people as a whole because of this game. Honestly, I really didn't have much interaction with, you know, any type of Japanese people until I started interacting with this game, and I got a couple of leaders that are Japanese, and you know, yeah, they're great. I love them. So long as the farmers shield when they're supposed to, because we still got a handful of those guys in 425. But so long as those guys shield when they're supposed to, man, they can hang out with their friends because they are very loyal. You know, I'll tell you that they are very, very loyal to their people and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, we had a good Wasteland with them boys from 858, man. Them boys showed up big time, and I like that. That's one of my favorite nations up there. I feel like I talk about 858 and like 904, 910, like those style of guys, like a bunch. But nah, man, those guys showed up, big numbers. They like to charge that button. They like to spend a bag, and yeah, they pulled away with a good little win. But we had fun. Me and Mental had fun. Once I figured out that these guys were ready to spend a bag, we weren't. I'll just leave it at that. And they definitely got the more points and all that fun jazz. Had some good battles in the middle though in the beginning. I think probably about halfway through. I don't know. I feel like they had maybe 30 or more, probably 30 more people online than we did, something along those lines. Now, if there's a light show there from 858. You could probably tell me how many people he had online, but it was damn close to 80, maybe more, you know?
League God, we talked with Johnny Ringo after, and Johnny said you guys had 60 and we had 69.
Oh, nice. Nice. So you guys are just much more motivated. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. We just have a great team that likes to fight, so maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. You guys showed up, man. You guys did your thing, and absolutely, man. It was a fun time. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, we had a good time.
I think
I mean,
858 has they have that like collective willpower thing as a team. They're one of the teams that you just can never really count out. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll fight losing odds and pull out a win. So it's cool seeing you guys in Polar from time to time. And congrats on the win over 425.
Yeah,
both you guys
fun.
both you guys are nations that other people should take notes from or whatever. 858 wins and is amazing, and that's great. And LG is LG, right? But one of my favorite things about LG is he's not salty and he's not stupid. And so if he gets into an event and he feels like it doesn't make sense, he doesn't throw a tantrum or try to like ruin the whole alliance's bag. And my favorite thing I saw today, to be honest, is I think it was Light so before that Wasteland, LG was posting a GIF, and then after that Wasteland, Light posted the GIF, and nobody was like upset. You know what I mean? Like nobody hates each other. Everybody's just having a good time in the game, and nobody's trying to ruin everybody else's bank account. I don't know. Props to both of you guys. Props to A58 for coming hard. And also props to LG for just being like, this is a fun game. I can take a loss. Like back to what we were saying earlier, I think taking a loss is the hardest thing in the game. And I've never heard LG cry about it. And I think that's dope. When the strongest player in the game also can be smart about looking out for his free players, that's dope. And also when 858 has 0 max whales and they'll take anybody and anything, that's pretty dope too.
Well, they have a team, like I saw some of the tactics they were using. They were following me in mental rounds. They were, jumping 3, 4, 5 in with us. So like we couldn't win or tying us up long enough. They had great strategy, man, and yeah, like at the end of the day, 425, man, as much as we have a bunch of whales and a lot of strong cities, like a majority of my players don't spend a fuck ton of money in this game. And so we pick and choose where we blow a bag. It's typically an elite war, like I'll just shoot you straight. Like that's where we're going to, blow a bag if we need to, and those style of things. And then everybody else just kind of just saves for, I guess that message to say, listen, guys, this is what matters, whether it's GC or, again, there's a good handful of different scenarios, but if we were to have gone against, and I would have, after when we lost, trust me, the vibes in my AC weren't the best, but as a leader, I had to tell him like, listen, like, sure, we could have done this, but, like everybody would be broke. Like I'm fine. Like I got 9 million gold. I'm going to fuck around with these guys for an hour. And I'm sure that's what I did, but the rest of my team, like, no, they're not going to heal like that. They're not going to, like maybe they would if I would have asked, but it just wasn't. Let's put it this way. Before the game started, these guys had max charge. you know? So it's like that alone is enough for me to say, all right, guys, like, let's just have some fun, make it a good game, you know, da 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 da, and, you know, and call it a day. So,
How did you know? How did you know? Lee God, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to know this trick. How did you know they were max charged?
By the individual scores.
Yeah, the individual scores are all fucking like their whole team is in the first place,
Okay.
you know?
All right, that's fair. Fair.
You know?
I mean, that's a good tip for other people too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So when I saw that, I was just like, oh, all right, like every one of these guys, because it's not to say it's not a fair fight, because it's always a fair fight, but when the whole team is got a big ass fleet like that, it sets it apart, you know, like it does. So like that's it's just an easy way and for me to say as a leader, like, all right, guys, stick together, have fun. You know, guys who want to spend money, have fun. You know, do your thing, and go from there. And that's essentially what we did. You know, I see in the chat some, you know, maybe that's 904 just trying to fuck with those guys and put some pressure on 858. It's like challenge them in Elite War. And I'll say this with the utmost respect. I think that's a different game. You know, not only will my entire team show up, but, you know, the squishiness of 858 will come out in an event like that where you can't charge a button and you can't do those things. So it is a big difference. But, bro, all shout out to 858, one of my favorite nations up there in those higher globes. Those guys have been showing up in numbers ever since they played that Elite War with Barry, however many months ago that was, when Barry was still, you know, pressing heavy in an Elite War and stuff. I've had immense respect for that team since then. But taking a loss, I mean, guys, taking a loss is what makes the best of everybody. Tom Brady's, fuck everybody, everyone. You know, you have to be able to take the loss, learn from it, and you know, and go back and get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's yeah. I mean, the loss side of things is stupid. You know, to create enemies over, you know, a good fight. We had a good fight, you know, like I was looking around for some 858 guys to run their mouth. You know, I was. Plenty of people can, but they didn't, right? And that's the respectful part. You know, sure, there's some friendly banter in there. You guys won, man. You're supposed to talk a little shit. You just beat us, man. You beat us by a good amount. I forget what the end score was, but I think it was like 2/3 to 1/3, call it, something along those lines. And, you know, yeah, those guys won, you know, and it was fun. So I don't got anything bad to say. I got plenty of good to say. And yeah, there's no reason to create, you know, enemies over whatever. I don't think it's clear to say that, you know, that they're better than us in any regard in that event, in that day. You know, it's like football, any given Sunday. Like the Rams are beating the piss out of the fucking Buccaneers right now. So I don't think Vegas even saw that one coming. So anywho, long and short of it is, yeah, no reason to have bad banter when there's no bad vibes. And shout out to 858 for having a great team, man. Those guys have been doing their thing for a long time now. So, you know, yeah. That's really all I can say about that. And when the next time comes along, and you know, I think the Alliance chat after that, you know, just giving you a heads up. If we tend to meet again, I think you know we'll have a little you know, better fight, just because you know the salty taste in some people's mouths, and that's cool too, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Lee God. We, like you said, if you're not going to be salty towards us and you're not going to be nasty towards us, we're going to be nothing but respectful. We're going to put our hand out. We're going to say, hey, thanks. We had a great time. Even if we lose, same thing. We're going to say, hey, we had a great time. That was a lot of fun. Let's do it again. But you get nasty, we'll get nasty.
On that note, well, we've all seen that, but we don't need to talk about that nation.
Exactly.
Nope.
On that note, if anybody wants to talk about it, what do you guys think about how the polar time slots are now being a little dominated by, I mean, obviously 61 strong, they dominate their spot. 255 dominates their spot.
Yeah, they all have their own crown king. I figured this out. I just went on tour, bro.
That's what I want to know. Because you went against 5, 6, 7 too, so you've seen them all.
I just went on tour, bro. There's a king in every corner, and I'm not fucking with them, bro. There's a king in every corner. 255, 621, 567. They all own their respective slots. More power to all teams that are, they're doing their thing, man. They're doing their thing. Those are like the three teams that are just fucking dominating shit right now, And 219's in there somewhere, but 219's will bow to 255. So I believe that they're in the same time slot, but I think I could be wrong. Maybe Big Bird could tell me if they're in their slot or not. But I think 219 is the only other team that should be talked about in those things that, isn't dominating. And, because I do know that they will fight everybody but 255 essentially. But yeah, 567 whoop that ass, bro. Those guys are motivated, man. Those guys are motivated, dude. Fucking shout out 567. Bo and Tip and the team over there are building something special. Just leave it at that. They're building something special over there, and they are hard to fuck with in any event. You can get them in an event right now that'll take some participation. You can beat them with some participation. So, but they're even the Elite War ranks. Look, I think they're 6 or 7 right now. And they're probably, and this is me just guessing. They're probably getting like 50 or 60 in Elite War. I could be wrong. Maybe they did some shit that I'm unaware of, blah, blah, blah. But, these guys are crushing right now. And so, yeah, I'm not fucking with those guys in Elite War. I mean, we had a good time, don't get me wrong, but they were dominant, 567 likes to, how do I say, exert dominance, right? This is what they just do, So when we're not blowing a bag like that, again, I'm not putting pressure on my team. So when I saw that max charge, when I saw those guys, all 10 of those monsters flying around, man, fucking have a good time, guys. Get as much merit as you can without healing and all that stuff. And, see you next week, So there's, but yeah, they're all 3 time slots. There's definitely a champion in place. No one's getting into that.
But you've been talking about taking it more seriously. So what's the strategy? Can you share it?
I mean, for me personally, the strategy is know your place, man. And my place isn't fucking with those 3 teams. Just call it what it is.
Yeah, right on.
I think if there's a team that I can go against, and my best fight right now would be 255, in my opinion, because similar spend wise, all the that would be my best fight right now would be 255, in an Elite War for conversation's sake. But I think they outbeat us in participation. So those extra 10 or 15 people that they get online is the difference maker. But 621, 567, man, those guys, they're just on another level, brother. So I just tend to, when I come across them, it's all right, I'm gonna go have some fun, and go from there. But I can't place that pressure on my team, man. And I can once, but if you go against either one of them one time, they're gonna come again, I'm not trying to blow that bag.
You played 255 in the final with 693, and you guys took second place. So
I mean that's because we didn't fight 255. 255 stayed on their side of the map, and they didn't engage us. And they knew I was gonna go after Ronaldo, and they knew that they were gonna hold on to their towers and get plenty of points to get first still. So that's and usually, and not to say that 425 and 255 have a deal, but we did have in the past. So I feel like it's just so long as we don't engage, and it's easy for us to not engage 255 when Ronaldo's sitting next to us. It's just fuck them up for an hour,
That's what I was saying early on. Is it doesn't make sense to go at whoever you think is the king. It makes when I actually used you guys as the example. Whenever we fought you guys, we just let you guys fight everyone else, and we stayed away from you. I think that's the way superior strategy for Polar.
Yeah, I mean, especially if there's a big dog in there, let them do whatever it is they're gonna do, and then you try to sneak some, And I think that with a couple, there's obviously a good amount, in every globe, there's a dominating, 2 to 3 teams, call it, right? Whatever. In every globe, essentially, you got something along those lines. So with 3 slots being in polar, I mean, sometimes, the time slots get dominated by all those same people. But I mean, in our globes anyway, in this realm of things, I think everybody kind of knows, and it's a strategy in itself to, okay, we're going to do this time slot because we don't want to fight 255 or this or that, and then you just make a deal. I feel like 621 has like a running deal with the other months. Was it 799? I think, you guys always see each other. I feel like 858 probably always sees like the 904s. So like the people who always see each other often, you can't just fucking blow a bag every time you see each other. We can't feed Camel like that. Like, I think people should be smarter than that. And then, go at it once in the beginning of the season, maybe, to say who's gonna, whatever, dominate in the future, I guess, like for the rest of the 8 weeks or something. But it would be crazy for me to think that, 425 is gonna blow a bag every week that we see 255 in Polar War. Like, that just doesn't make a lot of sense, and I wouldn't, and as much as I would like to blow the bags of 255 in some capacity, I don't think that's good for my team or theirs. And I love 255, so it's like, it's not even worth it to feed into the blue coin fiasco of Camel, because that's all it's going to do, is create a rivalry that we see every week that Camel wants. And, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars during the event, to buy more shit or to expand more or charge the button more. I think that's dumb. I'd much rather just, take an L, and try to do better next time. Or, again, for us in 425, like, or me as a leader, and maybe my team doesn't want to hear this, but, there's a few teams out there that I don't think we can beat, not to say that we can't give it a shot. Not to say that we can't blow a bag in the process, but I think there's a few teams out there that we just can't beat. And I think 621's at the top of them, like, you're not fucking with 621. We're not anyway. Let me just say that, like, we can't, we don't have the team or the spending power or the, like, whatever. We just don't, and 255, again, like, I think the only probability of 255 is because they don't have like a monster whale. They don't have max cities, whereas we do, but again, they have those extra 15 or 20 people that will show up every single time where, we get like 85 in Elite War, as a capacity, I feel like. So like that's.
I think there's a weird, I actually wish Big Bird would unmute and give his opinion, but I think there's a weird thing in the game now where you have most nations where they're playing too many events, whereas you old guys, like, if they actually just, let's pretend, just for the sake of conversation, if they drop GC, the fuck do you guys play? I mean, to be honest, like, there's EW, but you guys don't challenge each other. When's the last time you challenged the top 3? And then there's Polar, but like, there's, whatever, there were some deals going on or whatever, and people weren't spending on that. And then Wasteland is just a complete crapshoot. You guys got a great one. We got a boring one. Everyone deals with the Wasteland crapshoot. Like, what events is anybody spending on at that point? But then at the complete opposite end, you have these new nations that are stuck playing every event because they don't prioritize anything. It's a weird contrast throughout the whole game.
Yeah, I think that older nations are doing it right in prioritizing, especially because, out of the first year of your nation, you are like, that's when most of the like intra nation stuff has died down. There's a lot of excitement going on at the beginning that sustains people. People are getting city levels quickly, like they're upgrading quickly because early on it's easier to upgrade, right? When you have players who've been playing for multiple years, often you have people whose lives kind of take on more things over the course of 4 or 5 years that make it harder to play the game and kind of limit the amount of time they can put into it. So you got to pick your battles. You got to pick like, what's the event that's going to keep our alliance engaged and having fun as much as possible, and what's an event that we can be successful at, and hopefully those overlap, right? I mean, I really like Polar personally. So if GC were to disappear, which I don't think is going to happen soon, I'm not saying that it'll never happen. I don't think it's going to happen soon, but I could be wrong about that. But I would shift to Polar. I think Polar has some advantages in better merit for folks. If you don't get too fussed
does
about
it really though, Big Bird? Like if with the amount, let's assume that you're free playing Polar, okay? Let's assume that you're a 1200 attack, 1000 HP, C38 for conversation's sake. And what, you get 2 million troops or 1 million troop? What how many troops do we get that's free total?
2 million.
2 million total, but then you get some free shit along the way, or no? That's a different event.
Yeah, you get, let's say, 200K 3 or 4 times, maybe.
Assume you're not healing. Bro, you're not getting more than the second box. You're getting 200 merit, bro.
Yeah, but LG, you also hate people that join Elite War and don't do shit but sit in the base. So that's the other balance.
Well, yeah, no, all I'm saying is like, if you're trying to make it to a priority, like the amount of stuff that you're going to quote free play, into that event, right? Like you have to move and you have to spend in Polar to fucking get merit, man. Just attacking is not doing it unless you're getting a very lopsided battle in your favor numerous times. And I think we can all agree with that, right?
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. That's why I did have to preface it with like, as long as there's GC, all you guys are saving up for GC, and it makes sense. If I were in your nation, especially if I were leading your nation, I would definitely be preaching save up for GC. But if there were no GC, then you start getting into like, you got to spend somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, that should be on fucking Sundays, man. Every 2 weeks, that should be on Sundays, Should be. That's what we're doing anyway, and I think that's what other nations in my realm of things are doing, like 621, 567, 255.
Yeah, bro. But every week you're calling someone a pussy for not fighting. So saving up for Void doesn't necessarily work out when you're fighting a nation that just bubbles.
Well, yeah, but you still have to fight, bro. You still have to win. I mean, I don't know. For us anyway, we do. And I'm not going to change that as an R5 anytime soon, as long as Void is around. And I think frenzies are going to change for us a little bit. And I don't think we're necessarily going to care too much about head of state. I think that'll be a depending on matchups, event. But the long and short of it is free players, right? And I'm just going to say this in a general way. Free players, if they are doing all of the free player shit, and they're gathering gold only, okay? Gold only, that's it. Like no farming for fucking wheat or minerals or oil, right? They have to steal that shit essentially. They get gold only. These guys only have enough gold for, say every speed attack is 2,500 gold, for convo's sake. They only have enough speed attacks for like 4 or 5 speed attacks every 2 weeks, And that's not adding any speed to any other event. No Elite War, no Polar, no Wasteland, no nothing. Okay? If a free player just fucking does gold, just does zombie uprise, Doom Marine, all that dumb shit, they're only going to have enough speed, quote unquote, for a handful of attacks. That's it. Now, mind you, the pussies of the world with all the bubbles of the world, blah, 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 like, you're not going to get all those attacks in as a free player, but how many attacks do you go at and nothing's there, right? How many, like whatever, or T4 or something gay? That's still 2,500 gold for the free player, my man. So like I don't think it's like unless we were to completely give up on Saturdays, or excuse me, on Sundays, which again, as R5, I say no, and I don't think my team would even want to be about that, to speed more in like a polar or something along those lines. I don't know, it just blows my mind. And I think the merit is comparable and just as good, if not better, on Void War Sunday if you're able to get in the, say, top 100 for convo. Not top 50 or top 20 type shit. You're still going to get good merit and and whatever. If it's the pussies of the world, you'll still have a couple of your golds, tucked away for next time around. And when a guy like myself shares that stupid polar tower that's 3.5 minutes away on the other side of the map, you'll be able to get there, right? But that's the part that fucks me up, because again, like my personal team, I'm just using my own experience, half of them don't spend, man. They don't. I can, like whatever. Next time the buying event comes around, I can show you that a majority of the 80 players that purchase something is like $5, not a majority.
Yeah, man,
Like,
I'm not as worried about us. I'm just curious, like for you guys that win GC, it makes sense to prioritize GC. For people who don't win GC, it doesn't make any sense. And then if you're also getting matched up, so I feel like if you have no merge, you're getting fun void events, fun kill events. I think if you're in, let me talk for both of you as a moron. I bet you that 621 and 425 get 12 good voids a year. And so if you're not in a GC nation and you're in a merge nation and you get 12 good kill events a year, you probably should be looking for another event. And if you're not in one of the top nations, then it's not going to be Elite War. And so, just curious where people would spend their time and how they could optimize it. I don't know if it would be Wasteland. Like, Wasteland is dope. And maybe Wasteland's the right choice, because sometimes you get a trash Wasteland matchup, and then you can just save. And then you can play the next Wasteland and go all out if you get a good matchup. Or maybe Polar is the right choice, because you may or may not win.
You either have to set a precedence, I'll just use 255 as an example. They rose to the top of the ranks. They're the precedents in that particular time slot per se. What does it cost them to do it? Not much. They have participation. They have, whatever it is they have there in 255. But I think the majority of people want to be together. And I think that there's the Wastelands, for conversation's sake, every week, every 8 weeks, I guess you'd say, or every 2 months, it changes. And so to say you're going to go hard in a specific event against a certain team, if you see that same team the very next week, then what? It's like, those are the things that irk me, because Camel's great at saying, oh, you guys just blew a bag this last round. Why don't you guys fight again? And that's the part that is just like, I don't think you're really setting a tone, because if you were to place 425 against 255 every week, I think they come out on top, 8 out of 10 times, right? And if that's the case, I know that they're a better team than me, so why am I playing them every week, right? That's the part that turns me off from it, It's like, listen, Camel, they're better than us. We get it, they get it, blah, blah, blah. But if I'm playing them 6 weeks out of an 8-week event, that shit's not fun, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. But most people are not facing them like that.
Specifically with Polar, it's like the same matchups over and over. And I feel like, Big Bird can probably confirm this, but I know with 567, and I'm fairly certain with 621, you guys get essentially the same matchups, and as the weeks go on, when you get to week 5 to week 8, then you're adding another nation that is essentially very good, and you're going to see them the rest of the way. You know, like I think I was in one of your guys where it was like 910, 858, 621. It was like fucking everybody, you know? And it's like, I'm good with all that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a hater on this opinion. I don't think that's true. I don't know how the hell they're doing the polar matchups, but we're 13th. We're front page. We're not in that. We're in the 255 693 matchup. We could have fought you last week, but we're not in it. And I think some of that is if you're 425, you know, you have your battle power, everyone's going to do what they're going to do. I would be a moron to try to tell you what you should do. But if you're 904, I hate calling out other nations. Let me take that back. 904, I love you with all my heart. You're amazing. If you're in any nation and you have battle power that has you matching up with some of the top nations, then maybe the problem is not the matchups. Maybe the problem is the battle power. Like, we're up there and we don't have this problem. So I don't know. I feel a little bit differently about that one.
Well, I mean, you know, and that's all team based, you know, and whatever. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's up for debate, but you know, if Vegas came back and added all those cities to your, you know, whatever, you know, that may or may not change things for you. But yeah, I hear you. I'm in the same, I'm in the same shit with 357. Same exact place.
LG, if Vegas came back, I would give my fucking balls a tug. And I wouldn't keep crying about my matchups. I'd just fucking go. And if we lose, then we lose and we move down. But when do we have to keep
But congrats on 13th, bro. That's great, man. It's fucking awesome.
I just feel like this crying about matchup shit. Meanwhile, everybody won't take care of their farmers, or they're letting their people have millions of troops or whatever. And I want to have so many fucking troops I can win GC, but also I don't want to have matchups against other people with a bunch of battle power. Man, shut the fuck up. Give your balls a tug.
I think in this instance, well, Brooke, you're talking about people other than LG. Because as we said earlier,
yeah. Sorry,
LG
my bad.
doesn't cry.
No, my bad.
Yeah, no, I enjoy those
LG.
matchups. No. I know you're not talking to me. So it's like I personally enjoy those things, like we talked about earlier. It's like, listen, if I win, if I lose, like I'd like to think that I'm valiant in both efforts, and you know I'm gonna show up, you know, and if I'm not there, like that's super unlikely of me, but you know I'm gonna have a good time. The team's gonna have a good time for the most part. But again, like using like the 858 things as an example, you know, like in the Alliance chat afterwards, like I literally had to explain, like, you know, this is why, you know, for the most part, you know, obviously, you know, there's some other things in there, but for the most part, this is why, you know, like you shouldn't be upset. I said it within 3 minutes of the event starting, you know, just have a good time, guys. You know, if you want to do something better, then, you know, then we're going to have to plan and prepare better. You know, I think I've said this 50 million times in the podcast. A prepared warrior can't lose, you know, if they prepared well. They showed up valiantly. They were ready to fucking rock, and that was it. A handful of my guys, we were ready, you know, but we weren't ready to match what they were putting out on the table, you know, and that's just the easy part of it. Using that as an example, but everybody else, like there shouldn't be like a, you know, I was reading the chat here for the podcast just a moment ago, and all of the top 5 of Elite War minus myself, we're all ready for a challenge, you know, but at the end of the day, like I don't think a lot of people want that smoke, you know, and as much as like we want a challenge and 255 621 again 567 sliding up the ranks, like I think that you know that top 3 or 4 is like, you know, I think it can go whoever wants it more, you know, and I think it, you know, I've said it a few weeks ago, I think 621 is going to move their way into the first position there, or at least give a good crack at it. You know, and I'm still ready to see what 255 does if in fact 621 does take first. Because again, I think about there's some relationships with 219, 255 where kind of they won't challenge each other type stuff. So the moment 621 like inches into first, I think that gives the green light go for 255, whatever that looks like. So I'm just anxious to see it. I don't necessarily want to be a part of it, but yeah, I mean, we'll take a challenge. I don't mind. Showing the team exactly how we, pan up against the top 2 or 3 teams out there. But again, I don't think we come out as a winner in those instances. I think that those top 2 or 3 teams are very, very strong, and they got us. I can't really say much else other than that. And I think 5, 6, 7 is just so motivated with so many whales that they're going to be a fucking real problem here soon. And if 255, 621 start going at it for first, I don't know if it takes a merger or not in 5, 6, 7, but man, those boys are coming, man. I don't know what else to say. Them boys are coming, And I know 621 and them got like a little beef, so I'm excited to kind of sit back and smoke a joint and watch. I'm Switzerland over here, just fucking hanging out. But I think it's gonna get really good now that GC just ended. I think all those things, right? Just as a strategist of the game, and if I were in any of those shoes in that top 3 there, or even in the 5, 6, 7 shoes. Like now is the time, GC's over for a few months, give it a good go and see how it pans out, but I think, the coming months podcasts are going to be pretty sick just because, there might be some shifts of power. I've been saying it for a few months now. I think 621's the strongest nation in the game right now, and take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. I mentioned this to LG and Holbrook and a couple others earlier today, but starting in December, we talked to Sin. We're gonna go for it. So until we either pass them or we lie broken from the attempt. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. And starting in a couple weeks, we're gonna go at it. So I've been looking up to Sin for a long time in terms of Elite War and in terms of
How
the
can you
strength
not,
and focus. Yeah, exactly. So, even being in a position to feel like we can challenge them is a really cool feeling, and really looking forward to some phenomenal Elite Wars against them. The last one that we had
so
was
can I just
ridiculous.
request that somebody videos real time, or can I request that? Can the community request that and not just get a shit video from somebody's nation chat that I would force you to share even if you didn't want to? Is that possible, or is that not something that Yorzy and the leadership team, including yourself, do you guys do that? Do you share your Elite Wars in any capacity? I don't know. I'm just saying, I feel like the community would really want to see that, but I do understand if you don't, based off of strategies and stuff.
Yeah, I think we don't as a rule. I think it would be cool for the community for there to be some sort of recording, but that's my personal view, and I think that's something. Bottom line, I couldn't answer that question because I can't.
Yeah,
speak
I'm gonna
for
reach out.
Sin.
I'm gonna reach out to Yorzy and Hawk myself and see if
Yeah,
and see
it would
if
need
they'd
to
be
come from
cool.
both. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, if not,
Yeah.
man, maybe I can get a fucking little farm. I promise I won't make a difference, but I wouldn't mind watching just myself.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
That's going to
it
be
was
a great
unreal.
Elite War.
Yeah, it was last time. It came down to the final seconds. So, yeah, it was phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to playing them again.
Is the reason why you guys kind of hung out after that first win was because of GC? Is that why you guys kind of took a break?
Yeah, so we're obviously very focused on GC still, and so when GC is happening, we tread water typically for EW, and take challenges that we think are going to be conducive to us being able to go the distance in GC. And Sin was a incredibly costly EW, win
can only
or
imagine.
lose against those guys. You know what I mean? So we would have blown bags that we expected to need. But yeah, so before announcing or talking about it today, I did reach out to Sin, talk to them. We figured it out. So yeah, a couple weeks we're going to start up, and I might be saying that we're lying broken on the ground. End of the year.
I was just gonna
podcast.
say, is the first challenge set yet, one way or the other?
I don't think so yet, but I think it'll be the first week, somewhere in like the first week or
7th.
first 10 days of December. Yeah.
Probably Void War Sunday or Frenzy Sunday, something like that. It's probably definitely going to be one of those deals.
Yeah. LG, speaking of Frenzy, tell us about your no bubble Frenzy, because I thought that was such a cool idea.
I mean, I touched on it last week before we got interrupted. It was good, man. For 425 as a nation, I would say that every active player opened their boxes. I will say that we lost, but we didn't care that we lost. But everybody had good fights. There was a couple of big cities that got murked in the second alliance. There was defenses everywhere. It was cool. I thought we had a great time. If you go to my nation chat in 425, maybe it's buried now, but because I got some trolls over there that like to tell me that I'm not strong and shit. But the long and short of it is they, we had a great time, man. And as a nation, I know that we 100% got some free shit from Camel that we wouldn't have normally gotten. And as a thank you to the nation for, another GC win. And all of those little things that, bringing up like the Japanese style of alliance again, like they loved it. Not to say that we restrained them, from fighting events or anything, but they loved it. Because if I do restrain them, it's don't do anything stupid, like don't just fucking lower your shield and be an idiot, like if you were, whatever. So majority of those players would just stay under shield, because again, the Japanese definitely have some farmers as well. So the farmers were able to maybe do some things that they wouldn't normally do because they didn't want to look bad or die or, whatever the case is. So as a whole, 425 had a great time. I'm sure 333 we played 333. I'm sure they had an even better time because there were so many targets. I mean, I can't remember the last time like we ported to their nation and there was 45 unshielded GFK cities. Not to say that we got attacked much, but there was definitely a lot more action than usual. So yeah, we had a great time. We're definitely going to use that a little bit more in the leadership chat during the event. All the leaders of the other alliances had good things to say. And again, based off of matchups and, what we're going to do with each one of those head of states, I think that, after this one's over, we got double frenzy head of state. So, I think as a nation in 425, we care a lot more about a void war at least than we do frenzy. And yeah, it was a good time, man. I would suggest it for a majority of nations out there that that are losing, specifically, not to be like a super asshole all over again, but like if you're losing, man, you might as well get some free shit from Camel. Like I don't know what else to say. other than that. And even using a 425 isn't a losing nation by any regard. However, we did lose our void against 373 a few weeks ago. So we were out of this head of state. So in my opinion, as a nation leader and a strategist, and knowing the amount of people that we have in 425 spending money and things like that, it's the most advantageous as not only a leader of GFK, but a leader of the entire nation, to say, all right, guys, get as much as you possibly can from the camel fucking gods, and go from there. We have 229, I believe, this void. We've never played them before, so I also thought, leading into doing the no bubble frenzy, that if we lost, we would get likely them, and we've never played them before. So I think it'll be a cool void. It's an older nation. Some of the people from 255 told me they like to fight a little bit, so hopefully that is the case, and it'll be good all the way around. But even this next head of state matchup with double frenzy, I think that in a grand scheme of things, it was so much more fun than just trying to I don't know, snipe a dead city every now and then, or I don't know. It was a lot more fun. I don't know what else to say. And I would suggest it for a lot of people. Let's just leave it at that. If as long as you're not like somebody who's trying to, keep up your, whatever, your 96% win rate and 5, 6, 7, 2, 5, whatever, as long as you're not caring about that specific number, and there's not like a rivalry or whatever, there's, I think that there's a great idea to promote activity. We were so much more active. I'll tell you what, just, being online for a majority of the day, the nation itself was so much more active. Alliance 2 and 3, even Alliance 4, man, they were hanging out doing their own thing too. I mean, they weren't allowed to have like a half a fleet or some shit like that, but they were having fun with that half a fleet.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I think, to your point, if you're not, keeping up a streak, like what most of us want is to just have good fights, right? Like, for most of us, the win or the loss is less important than did we have a fun KE? And so, I don't know, at least that's kind of where I've shifted recently. It's like, I am not going to recruit a bunch in the early phases. I would rather fight, and I'm okay losing, but we're also not, to your point, one of the like major win streak nations. We're going to try and win, but if we lose, I'm going to remember the ones that were good fights more,
Yeah, I 1,000,000,000% agree. There's a handful of nations out there, especially some of the newer nations, right? Like I'm in the nerd server there, an Enoch server, and I always see people using his AI bot. What's the win rate of so-and-so nation? What's the win, blah, blah, blah. So like, I get it, man. I do. So if you're out there trying to preserve that particular, stat for your nation, do your thing, man. Fucking run it up, do what you got to do to win it. And everybody that's losing to you should respect it to a certain degree. But for everybody else, if you're led properly and all those things, and I'm not saying just, go out and lose everything. Please don't accept it for what that is. I'm just saying in a general way, and nothing for nothing, there is a lot of losing nations out there, that lose in an, often way, and any halfway decent player can just look at the matchup and say, okay, like we're not beating this team, and if that's the case, man, you might as well have some fun, because clicking a 24-hour shield and not logging in until Monday or, after reset Sunday night or whatever your time zone is, I think that's horrible. Like you probably shouldn't be playing the game then, and yeah, but I know that there's a lot of nations, call it like the 7 or no, probably like 850, call it and up, that are still, really caring about that win rate and, you know, and I did for the longest time, you know. I'll tell you that the moment they started mixing the win rates for Frenzy and stuff really threw things off. But you know, here nor there, the newer nations, and even some of the older ones, you know, that really care about that, you know, you got to, you know, you got to respect it. So, but 425 isn't one of those nations. You know, we like to have fun. We like to be a, you know, a good community, and we like to fight. You know, that's just really it. Win or lose, we like to fight. Pretty much what Big Bird just said. You know, I think the fights are what we remember. You know, that report section where it says favorites are filled with, you know, those reports that we want to hang on to. You know, so like those are the things that we remember. You know, I don't think we remember you know, a random void that we recruited an extra 2 billion to win. You know, I don't think we remember that, but we do remember, you know, the 50 versus 50, or the, you know, the shield drop of the 150 million BP guy who just thought it would be okay to only click an 8-hour shield and go to work. You know, like those are the things that you remember, you know. Killing Raz, you know, like those are the things that you remember. You know, like those are what makes the game good, in my opinion. You know, if you're going to talk about Polar or Wasteland, it's like, okay, but, you know, it's going to be the same thing every 8 weeks, you know. At least with GC, I feel like there's a little bit of a buffer there. You know, to be the king of GC, you're saving up, you're preparing, you're doing all of those things. With Polar and Wasteland, it's a rinse, wash, repeat all over again. It's just trying to drain your bag. So, like, that's the part where I don't know if I'm just been playing the game too long or what, but it's just like I try not to feed into that, you know. And again, as a leader, I can't just apply pressure to my team and, you know, drain a bag in every event. Even though it tends to happen, you know, it's like I'll message a guy, you know, it's like, hey, why weren't you in that speed attack? You know, like, you know, why? And oh, I'm out of gold, you know, whatever. I didn't have, you know, the consumables, so I just stayed in the shield, whatever. And you know, but this particular thing that I'm referencing, his response to me was, we just had Polar, you know, 2 days ago, and we went real hard, and you kept sharing, you know, targets, asking for help. Like I was in those reports, you know. He's like, go look, like, please, like, go, like, you know, he was, you know, thinking I was coming at him, but, you know, I kind of was, but, you know, long and short of it, he was, claiming his case, and he was right, you know. And you know, so you can't place that pressure, you know. I mean, you can, but you can't expect them to be there every time, you know. And I don't want to say that I snapped at him, but I asked him, you know, why weren't you in this, you know, battle? You were online. I saw you online. Why weren't you there? You know. And those are the things that I have a problem with as a leader. It's like, if you're online, man, you better fucking, you know, when I say go, you go. You know, I don't want to hear anything else other than that. And, you know, he wasn't there. But long short of it, you know, again, 2 days later on that Friday, you know, he was, we were fighting Ronaldo, and him and Treehouse were just coming at us over and over again. So, and he was in those reports speeding in when I was asking for help on a couple of occasions. So, like, I have to take those things in consideration. And literally after that, which was, you know, probably 3 or 4 months ago, whatever it was, you know, I'm trying to be more, you know, aware of how much it costs in this game when, you know, you're only relying on what Camel's giving you, you know. So there's only so much you can do, or you're literally just dead in the water, you know. Like, I'm sure you guys can understand that. Or been there.
You said
you
that,
know?
LG, you set the tone for your. I'll go real quick, Bird. Don't worry.
Yeah, go for it, man.
LG, you set the tone for your nation, and so it is what it is. But for a lot of nations that don't have someone setting the tone like you know, there's the ranking thing, and the ranking thing is wild too, because we all have to click on it every day to get that free reward. And you have like Royal Arena right at the top, and then right below that is Wasteland, and right below that is Polar. And so, like, it's easy for all of us who love Void to put so much emphasis on Void, but you can see the game is putting emphasis on other stuff. So I think that's the takeaway for me is like
consumable based, though, Holbrook, right? You know, call a spade a spade. Those are all consumable based events that Camel figured out that they weren't making so much money in Void and Frenzy when they were making so much more money in the new Polar event, or whatever it is that they allow. Iron Blood was the first instance of this,
You're
right?
not wrong, but you're the greatest advocate for free players, and the average player isn't even on fucking Discord, much less paying attention to what is a premier event from a couple of years ago or whatever. So I just think it's important that every nation plays to its advantages, and like if your average players are watching those rankings and they give a shit about those things, then there's no problem focusing on Wasteland or whatever the event is. You know what I mean? Like, but the most important thing is spending wisely. Don't just burn on every single event, right? Because you can be a Void Nation. There's some badass Void Nations. We can shout them out if we want. 896, 923, 1038. I don't even know the rest. Those are just friends of mine. Those are Void Nations that are above me, anyways, as far as young, and they don't get any credit anywhere. It's not like the rankings show them anywhere. So, like the rankings page will show you. I agree that what Camel wants you to spend on, but I think the most important thing is not what event you play. It's having a nation that's focused in one direction. And so, like, I was talking to this guy on the nerd server who was saying, like, I want to play this kill event and there's points on the table, but I'm speeding on my own. And I'm like, man, if you want a Void Nation, build a Void Nation, but speeding on your own is not the way to build a Void Nation. And so everyone needs to have their own identity. That's all I would add. I got to drop off soon, but the last thing I would add is just like, you can't fucking win everything. Spend a little focus. If you're in 425, obviously Void is it. 621, I guess GC. And I know you guys fucking win everything, both of you guys. But these younger nations coming up, some of them have amazing identities and they have reputations, and I just named some of them because they have those reputations. If you're trying to win everything, good fucking luck. In fact, I'm gonna watch and laugh. Good fucking luck.
I mean, so I think the only nation that's currently able to do that is 255, and they're so well managed, and they've been doing it, the longest. And if any one of those great nations, including my own, can hang on long enough that they did, and get enough mergers that they did, you might have enough people to, to do exactly what they're doing, right? Essentially show up and win. Don't get me wrong. There's a good amount of events where they have to blow a bag to maintain their status, if you would. But that's what happened. They had enough mergers. They're led so well, and they have a good team. They recruit really well. They just never stopped for however many years that they've been playing now. So if you speed it up, I think that you have your your big red flags or your KPIs jumping off the paper to you that these particular nations, you just ripped off a few. I talk about the ones hanging around by me often. And there's going to be some newer ones in the 11, 12, 1300 nations that are going to pop up. And I think that there's definitely something to be said about identity, and reputation of your nation. I think that is something that you should hold near and dear, especially if you're out there, talking on Discord servers or otherwise. I'll tell you that one person with a nation number next to their name can get your entire nation in a rival, maybe one that you don't want either. So there's a lot to be said on how people are presenting themselves and how their reputation presents, and so just keep those things weary. But yeah, I agree. I think everybody should attempt to have a priority. Everybody should have a focus, and they should do their absolute best to promote participation and being online, because that's ultimately what's here. Especially if you look at the nations that are below me, again, just using 255 as an example, because they literally win everything, bro. It's not a joke. They win everything. Wasteland, Polar, Elite War, fucking just they win everything, So it is definitely possible. Number one. Number two, it is it's something that I think takes time, and I also think that it's going to take some mergers because not to take anything away from 255, they definitely have a lot of people there. So I know that doesn't come all from recruiting. So there's definitely just some OGs from all those nations. I don't even know how many nations they are. It doesn't matter, but I think that it's possible with time and great leadership, and Camo giving us mergers, obviously. So I think we get that here in the next few weeks. That's something exciting, maybe to potentially look forward to here in the coming weeks between Voids or after Head of State. Is over here this coming Sunday. So that might be cool if it happens. I don't know. I will be the first to say again that if it happens, I don't think that older nations will be merged. I think Camo will keep its status quo and kind of fill in where they left off and start into the newer nations just to say that they merged because that's easy for them. But I hope that I'm wrong. And I hope that a lot of these nations that need a merger get a merger. And I don't think that the top nations out there should get a merger. I think that the 425s, 621s, 255s, I don't think these guys need mergers, but I think everybody around them should get a merger to make it fun. I would love to be knocked off of the GC, whatever pedestal. It's a good amount of times running now. I would like to maybe focus on something else if there were to be another we can't beat them team come into our bracket or whatever. So I wouldn't necessarily mind that. I mean, again, you'd have to beat us to claim it, but I think that at least for 425 anyway, it would be difficult for us to really apply a priority to a polar simply because I know who we're going to fight in any one of the brackets per se that I were to choose. I think with Wasteland, it's very similar. We're going to get very comparable teams, and to have essentially a GC final, 1v1 every week, it's just too much. It's too much pressure for us. But if we didn't have to worry about GC, maybe we'd do it like every other one or something like that. I don't know. I think it would have to be tabled, but there is a lot of events, and if you're not spending a good amount of money on this game, the consumables in alone will run you crazy. So the free player game, even not the free players, because the people who are call it 500 a month, those guys are hopefully spending the money in the right place and not on consumables. So they still have to, gather gold all day. They still have to only have, so many, speed attacks per se, or abilities to speed into an attack, whether it's a Wasteland, Elite War, Polar, whatever event we're in, clicking that speed button costs 500 gold every time you do it. So I think that,
Sorry, if you don't mind, since we circled back to this topic, I was about to ask a question.
Run it, brother, run it.
Regarding this. So for the mid-spender, let's say exactly the bracket you just mentioned, someone that spends like $500 a month, how do you prioritize if you spend some money in consumables like speeds and stuff like that, or if you spend money on officers or whatever you need to upgrade or improve your city? How do you balance those two things together with the events that your alliance or your nation is focused on?
I mean, so a $500 a month player, and I have a good, call it a handful of those style of players in my alliance in GFK, and I tell them to not buy consumables. I try and use camel against camel. If you're gonna spend 500, wait for the Blue Coin event to come out where, you go onto the website and, you're going to get a handful of speeds and, a handful of other items just for spending that money on the Blue Coin site. And the same with the weekly or daily, every other day random events that we get, depending on what was the event that we just got the new island item for fleet size? Somebody want to jump in and tell me what that was? So like I would tell my, and I put in a little message out to the team when that particular event, it was just a couple of weeks ago, but for those that are spending money, this is a great time you need 13 shards, and if you break it up over 2 events, you can do it for this amount of money. And I would suggest that for some of you guys that are, wanting to play this event, whatever, and be able to get that extra 1,000 fleet size and in 2 events per se, but I think that the best advice would be, number one, to get as much as you can for Camel when you're spending that money. Don't just spend it and don't get anything in return. Every time you add money to this game, Camel should be giving you something other than the Blue Coin as a little extra. And if you're patient and you're able to, plan it properly, Camel's going to give you some extra shit for spending that money. So leading back into the question, once the money is spent and you get a couple of extra consumables or whatever from Camel, from say the site or any other avenue, again, I don't love $500 a month players spending on consumables. So I'm essentially telling you, to spend that officers playing Titans, and if you're asking me specifically, I would ask you to share a couple of different things and, maybe give you some advice or suggestions on, where I think that budget could be spent this month or otherwise. But I think a lot of players, that have been playing long enough, that are in 425 anyway, they already kind of have a plan on where they're going for the most part. And they're all at a place where it's not going to happen right now. It's going to take a few events. It's going to take, some time to get there. And, one of the things that I noticed fighting 858 in Wasteland the other day was the amount of players that they have with Golem focus. So good job to the leadership of 858 because those guys are listening. So I turn around and implemented or, reminded the team that that's something that they should be focusing on. And then whatever, I got some feedback on where some of the players are, but I think that consumables are the worst buy in the game, because you're going to use it faster than you normally would. A $500 a month player, it goes so fast, like I don't know how to say it other than that. It just goes so fast. So, I'm a big skill books guy. All else fails, get skill books. There's always going to be a new officer, I feel like, and there's always somewhere to fill in. Holbrook and I were just talking about this a handful of days ago with the versus BT, application or, filling in the 6-star. I think skill books are a great opportunity to spend money on. And, that's always a fail safe for me. But I think every single one of those answers are all individually based, unless there's like a specific new officer that came out and, the new pack, the $5 pack where you get like 7 shards of the new officer or something stupid. Like I would tell you to get that, because whatever, it's a $5 and you get a good handful of shards where, in 3 weeks, that same 7 shards will be $15. So I feel like those are some of the stupid things to say when something new comes out. But majority of the time when something new comes out, the free player or the nominal spender, a $500 a month spender, shouldn't pay attention to it. Beating the fucking bear and dragon puppies and dragons and fucking plain skins and all that shit. It's hilarious to me flying around in these other nations and I see these big old dragons on these like C-38s. It's like, what are you doing, man? You know, but more power to you, man. Do your thing. You know, I don't know what else to say. But, you know, I don't like to spend other men's money. But at the end of the day, like, I don't think that's a great buy. You know, I just don't. I think the foundation of officers, you know, Plane and Titans would be the place where the $500 a month spender simply focuses in those three areas, and does their absolute best on that budget, you know, and I would go there, you know, and obviously you want to make sure you get some uranium along the way, to whatever, get up to the next city level, but 500 will get you as long as it's going to get you. But at the end of the day, I would not suggest consumables. I personally don't really buy consumables, but you know, whatever. There's I don't know. I just don't like it. I think that the gold option to gather is good enough to, again, especially with the way voids are going and stuff like that. Like Holbrook was even saying, we're not getting that many fights. You know, I think a lot of people probably blew a little bit of a bag this last frenzy with the no bubble thing, just because there was some action going on. But in the normal sense, I think that that $500, officers, Titans, Plane, foundational things, getting to the next skill. I'm a big skill opener guy. So if you can get to that next Plane level to open that next skill, that next Titan evolution to get that next skill, you know, that's where I would tell, you know, probably anybody to really focus on is what's the next skill you can open, you know, and how long is it going to take you to get there? And, you know, that would be your next focus. There's so many good foundational things in those three places that you shouldn't really have to worry about skins, shouldn't have to worry about puppies or dragons or birds or whatever the fuck is coming out next. You know, I did recently just max out the dragon puppy, so I'm expecting a new skin soon. Just sorry, community, you know, so say that in advance. I apologize. But you know, so that's likely coming soon. So yeah, but the $500 a month spender needs to turn a blind eye to those things, you know, like they really should. It's a complete and utter waste of, you know, that budget of yours, and you would really want to focus on, again, the next skill, because I know your Plane's not all the way open on the skills. I know you still have 2 more evolutions on your Titan. I know that your fucking BT isn't open on, you know, your Emily yet, right? Like there's a good amount of places where you can spend that budget and really get, you know, some add value for not only yourself but for the team. You know, the worst thing would.
So if you see some of the events, this is something we can go deeper in another session. But for example, this hammer thing, yes, it gives you pieces for the panda skin and so forth. But if you're still building your city and building your officers, like the packages you get, actually, I'm showing them on the screen. The first one gives you speeds, 3 envelopes for $1. The next one is like $5 or so. I can't scroll at the moment. And it gives you like 5 more envelopes. So if you spend like $10 or so, you are able to unlock this one, which gives you the 10 skins plus 10 more envelopes. So if you're still looking for developing your
There's a good amount of
officers,
events.
it's not
There's
bad.
definitely
Like it's not
there's
bad
definitely a good amount of events where
spending
you
the
can
money.
spend like $2 and grab something good. I think me and Big Bird were talking about. What's the event where you can spend like $1 and get the Zeus frags, right? There's a good amount of, you know, and again, strategically spending money, you know, like I'm not horrible against, you know, that, but if you're, I don't know, using an example of, if you could spend that same amount of money and get the jars to get your next Titan evolution, I would prefer you to do that, you know, as opposed to, you know, trying to get some panda skin that affects your exterminate that you may or may not even have open yet, you know? And, you know, so there's ways to look at it.
what I
And but yeah,
was
that's a great deal.
what I was
You know,
saying is slightly different. Is more like the motivation to play this event or to spend a little bit of money in this event is not to get the skin, is to get the
the
other
speeds.
rewards, the speeds, the envelopes, all that. Because for $10, like it's 20 something envelopes plus the speeds plus the things you get when you actually swing the hammer.
Beat the
So
bear. Yeah, I was just gonna say you get a couple of things when you beat the bear too.
at
So
the
yeah,
end
it's
of
not
the day,
horrible.
it's cheaper than going into the daily deals or stuff like that to get the same amount of things. Putting the skin parts completely aside of that equation. So that's, for example, how I look at this and how I manage if I spend or not in these events, and how much I spend is what I'm getting out of it. Okay, would I spend the same or less if I was going to the daily deals or something like that and buy the same thing? And that's a way for me,
I
for
agree.
example, to get those
I agree,
consumables.
and you're smart enough to see that, you know, and that's what makes you good, and that's what makes you, you know, again, smart enough, you know, and hopefully you're saying those same things in Alliance chat to your team, because that's what makes sense, you know, because yeah,
Yep.
$2, you know, excuse me, $1 for, you know, those consumables, it ain't bad, you know, it's not bad at all, especially if you can beat the bear a handful of times and maybe get a skin or two. You know, I don't think it's bad at all. I don't think it's bad at all for the, you know, the buy event with the extra fleet size to spend, you know, $50, you know, a couple of different times. And the next thing you know, you got an extra 1,000 in your fleet size that really helps the team. You know, so there's definitely some good strategies with paying attention to what Camel is offering you, you know, to take advantage, you know, and yeah, the budget players really should be doing that, you know, and um, you know, obviously there's some good buys out there, like the fucking, I don't know, like the uranium card, for instance. You know, you should always just have that if you have a $500 a month budget. I'm assuming you're obviously not a C41 or anything like that. So, you know, you should probably have that uranium card as like a status quo. You know, that you should just have it. You're gonna, you know, do a lot better with it. So, yeah, and then you should have a budget, you know, and with the nerd groups or the spreadsheets that are available out there, you know, you can kind of pick up what uranium packs you're going to buy every week or every month, and you can say in 6 months or in 8 months, I'm going to click this, and this, you know, and if you know, if you care about the game enough and whatever, you're doing these style of things. Or at least thinking about it. You know, maybe you're not actually sitting down and doing the numbers, you know, until you're getting a little bit closer. But, you know, if you're working off of a budget, which I happen to know a good amount of players do, you know, they set a number, they use it, and, you know, you know, and if they use it too fast, you know, they might be, you know, hanging out for a week or so before that budget's able to, you know, come back again. So, there's you know, you got to pace yourself, and yeah, if you're looking at these packs, these events when they come out, you know, and asking questions, again, communication is asking, you know, if you just ask in Alliance chat, if you're that $500 a month spender and you see these things pop up like Hawk has just said, you know, just asking the simple question, hey, it looks like a pretty good deal. You get these speeds, you get this, you get that for $1. You guys think that's good, right? You're gonna have like 10 people say, yeah, I already got that, you know, like you're late to the game, you know, and kind of confirm, or, you know, whatever. And again, just that interaction in Alliance chat creates the communication, creates motivation, movement, whatever you want to call it. It's all good things. So just relaying that information, I think, is best. You know, just talking in chat. I noticed, you know, when I logged in this morning, there was, you know, exactly what I talked shit about. There was like 7 or 8 people that did the launch the ruins, and nobody said anything in between it. They just did the launch the ruins shit, and I started talking shit about it because whatever, I poke at people, and the next thing you know, man, the chat just lights up, man. 10, 15 people in there exchanging, you know, whatever, bantering back and forth, and you know, all you got to do is start talking. So, again, I hope you said that same thing in your Alliance chat or doing it now. Because, yeah, $1 a good deal, but the budget players should definitely be paying attention. Pay attention to the blue coins on the website. If you're not taking advantage of that, you should be, because you're getting die over there now. There's whatever. I don't want to sound like a pitch man for Camel and their fucking blue coin site, but the long and short of it is you definitely get a couple of free things by spending the money you were already going to spend in game.
And
So
there are 2 days a month where if you buy coins from that site, you get extra coins. It's the first of
yeah,
the month and
5%.
the 15th. It's every
Correct.
2
So you get
weeks it resets. So
correct, but typically when that resets, that's like a sales thing. They dangle the carrot because typically when it resets, there's no other additional things. There's no other event giving you free consumables. So wait like a day or two, and then another buy event will come out for the whales where you'll get some free shit with just spending the money away from and excuse me the thing that you're referring to. I think it's 5% or something along those lines. But yeah, you get extra blue coins for spending the money, and you get some, their speeds. I think there's also again,
it's like
I'm not a
10.
big fan of consume.
It's like
Yeah, it's like $10.
10% extra. Because if you buy 9,999 coins, you get 10,999. So it's basically 10% on top, twice a month.
Yeah. So these are all, I mean, it's not a secret, but, you should be taking advantage of it. I know it's, whatever, you have to go out of the game to do it. Some people can't, whatever. But, for me personally, I'll wait, and I'll wait for those, the dye things to come out or the city skin or whatever it is. Usually get something stupid. I'm not a big fan of the event where you spin the wheel and have to spend $5,000 to get a robot skin. I think that's hilarious. But the ones that you're getting dying, I think for the people who are that don't have max dragon puppies and stuff, I think that's where you should be spending. When those particular events come up, because you can load up your coins, go spend, call it $2 or $3 grand for conversation's sake. And let's say that's your budget for the month or, the 2 months even, you're better off doing it in that particular time because you're going to get an extra 100 or so die with a handful of speeds and, heals or whatever, recruits even. So yeah, I mean, if you are spending money, I would definitely suggest if that's available to you to, wait, be patient, and get those free things from Camel. I'm a big advocate of trying to get something free from Camel, especially for the players out there that, aren't dropping a bag. Because, again, if you're patient and if you plan it properly, get a couple of extra things, you might be able to get into a couple of extra speed attacks or, whatever the case is. I think it's a good idea and everybody should share it, I got the Japanese TikTok gift codes the other day, and I was sharing them on all the Discord servers. And so yeah, anytime you can get something free from these people, sure, it's majority wheat, right? Like Mikey was thanks for the wheat, but whatever, man, you just try to get whatever you can from Camel on the free, and if you're a $500 a month player, you need to be gathering gold 24/7. So just take heed to that, everybody who's listening. If you're a $500 a month player, even $1,000 a month player, you should probably be gathering gold 24/7. And I think it'll bode you well. And all you have to do is show up to the other events that are, organic through camel, like, whatever, your zombies and your doom. If you do all the first 4 phases, of your not kill event, but your head of state, each one of those phases, if you open all the little boxes, you get some gold at the end. So if you do all those things and you participate and you show up, even farm, right? Like, I know people like to talk shit about it. I'll tell you what, me personally, as the player that I am, I farm every event. And maybe I don't farm for the points, but I farm for the gold. I do. So I don't know if that's like people want to make fun of me or not, but I gather wheat very fast. I'll mind you, I'm a fast wheat gatherer. And but I definitely do that for the 500 or so gold or whatever stupid shit that camo gives me. And I have 9 million gold in my bag, and I still do that. So I would suggest everybody doing those things to get that free shit from camo. It's not above you, and you should be doing it for your nation regardless.
How
But
many
you
troops
should
do
be
you
really
got?
doing it for the gold. Me personally, I have like 45 million.
That's why you gather wheat. Troops gotta eat.
I mean, I gather wheat and I have max wheat, but it's whatever. It's the fastest thing to gather. So I just do it quickly. I get my gold and I get up out of there. You got to open your boxes, guys, right? I'm a good farmer. Tip taught me well. Where's Tip? I know he's in the chat. Tip taught me well. I'm a good farmer. I got to collect my wheat. And, but yeah, I want my 500 gold from Camel, man. Fuck Camel. I want that 500 gold or 490 or whatever the hell dumb number it is. You should be doing it. And again, if every 2 weeks when that event comes up, and I've asked and kind of calculated this and watched over the years, a free player will have, again, 5 to 7, available speed attacks, every couple of weeks. So when you start adding all these other events, it becomes very pressure filled. And I don't like to do that to the team. So if everyone focuses, pays attention to Hawkage, go spend your dollar on the Pound of Bear event, right? Go get your free shit, right? A couple consumables. It's a good little buy right there, actually. But yeah, I think that there's a place for everybody to pay attention and do a little bit better for themselves, their nation, just by spending their money where they can to get a couple of extra things for free. It's like going to fucking shop on Black Friday. Maybe we don't do it, but you jump online, grab something 20% off. Why the hell not? So I don't know. Definitely should take advantage of it when you can. The Blue Coin site is definitely a nice little spot to grab a couple of things if you're spending money, though. So that's for sure.
The strategy.
I think LG
normally-
425 is lucky to have a leader who leads by example that way. Because if you're out there doing it, then no one has any excuse. I think your nation's really lucky to have you doing those extra things. I am seeing the time, and we are over 3 hours at this point, so I'm going to have to sign off. But thanks everybody for coming. Thanks to the other people, hosting. It was fun dialogue. I always enjoy talking shop with you guys. Have a great weekend.
Big Bear, you the man, brother. I appreciate you as always.
Yeah, have a good one, man. See you later.
Yeah, we can chop it up a little bit longer. I still got a few minutes on the football game. So if anyone got anything else going on, chop it up a little bit longer or whatever. If you want to kill it, Hawkage, on you, brother. You tell me.
I'm fine to keep going if everyone is interested in keep listening to.
We got anybody that wants to put their hands up? Got any questions that's in the chat? Any of these, anybody want to put their hands up? Got a little bit of time. I got 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Any good matchups this week yet? We got anything to talk about for Void War? Anything that I'm unaware of? Does anybody know that? Let's ask that. We got 229 over here in 425. Not, I don't think it's going to be anything crazy, but I don't think I've really seen anything that's talk of the town for this particular head of state. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong though. Anybody got a big final that they're going to be paying attention to? Who you guys got, Light Show? You got anything special?
Yeah, we got 877. We just had them in GC.
That's
And,
Cockroach, right?
Yeah, that's Cockroach.
Yeah.
They were quite salty and said some nasty things in GC chat. So
Oh, okay. So this will be a fun one.
oh yeah, they were saying that we ganged up on them and they would beat us in a 1v1, all this. So we gave them 3 Elite Wars. We've beaten them in 2 of them so far. And now we got a Void coming, so they'll get another 1v1. So we'll see how that goes.
I love it, man. You guys took a page out of my book with that one. I love it.
Yeah. You know, we're not gonna talk any smack to them. We're just gonna, you know, they wanted 1v1. They were saying, oh, it was unfair. Everyone ganged up on us. Everyone ganged up on you because you talk smack to everyone. That's why. So, yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you, it's definitely a part of my strategy. If we wanted to talk about that for a little bit, I like to play Switzerland. I like to be friends with essentially everybody. You know, I don't like to just go out of my way and be whatever. But man, if that rivalry comes, man, I don't know. I get a little bit different with it, but I try to stay out of it, man. I really do. But then you just get that, you know, people try and, you know, kind of like you said, that talking stuff, man. That talking stuff gets people in trouble sometimes, and you know, I know,
Yeah,
I know. The best thing I did was when Ronaldo started that talking stuff was just okay. I'm just gonna challenge. You know, let's fight. You know, I don't know what else to say. Let's fight. And then yeah, that didn't go well for him, and you know, so yeah, I hear you, man. I get where that's coming from. I've played that the 8-7, the Cockroach guy a few times in like the polar events, and they're a pretty strong team, man. So you know, give them what it's worth. The Cockroach guy definitely flies around like, but he's like, I feel like he's almost like a solo kind of player, you know. But anywho,
he's got a couple other. Pasa is.
yeah, I was gonna say there's another
Mac
city.
Rail.
Yeah, there's another city. That's the name of it. I couldn't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, they have a couple other guys that are real strong too, but they just I don't want to. I'm not going to say anything bad. We're just going to let our actions speak for ourselves, and we'll see what happens. We got Void in a week, and we got one more Elite War in a week, so we'll see what happens.
How is the Elite War going? Is it like easy for you guys, or is it, you know, a good fight? Like, what's that looking like? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah. So the first one was over in 4 minutes and 12 seconds, and we had another one today. It lasted about 2 minutes longer. Pasa showed up for this one. He wasn't in the first one. He showed up for this one, and that one was about 6 minutes long. So.
Okay, so you guys are clearly dominating that exchange.
Yep. We posted. We made some videos of that. We posted those in a Globe 10 Discord and on YouTube. So if anyone wants to check those out, those are both there.
All right. Drop them in the chat, man. I wouldn't mind checking those out myself. So let me ask this question: you have another one scheduled. Are you going for a fourth, or are you getting the same thing where I was? It's kind of boring, right?
Just did 3, and it's just kind of like, all right, we proved our point. We gave them 3 out of 5. You know, let's just cool it now. We proved our point. We proved that we can beat them. So there's no sense in just beating the dead horse. So
and then you guys have the Void this weekend. So you have the Void this weekend. Is it are you guys gonna go into it? Like you're not doing a recruit to win type thing, right? But I'm sure you
Uh,
guys are gonna go into it, probably on the positive side. Are you expecting a fight? I guess is the question I'm getting to.
yeah. So we're not going to recruit to win. We're going to recruit to fight. So if we already know that they're going to try to recruit a bunch of stuff, and we already heard that nobody gets to fight except for their top six. So we totally welcome that. Um, we're going to go in, try to be up so we can force them to fight. And that's what we want. We want them to fight. The only thing that sucks is it's Thanksgiving weekend. So I'm sure they'll be shy of people. We will probably be shy of people. So
Do they
we'll
do
see what
they get
happens.
similar numbers in Elite War? What's their numbers in Elite War looking like? Are you
I don't know what their numbers were today. They look like they had real similar numbers. We had 70 today.
nice?
So yeah, looks like they bring the same kind of energy that
That'd
we
be
do.
cool if you guys get some good reports at least. Hopefully there'll be some
Yeah,
fights. I'll be looking out for that one. I
yeah,
always like a good
absolutely.
Void War. That's my favorite, man.
Absolutely, and we definitely will give them respect where they earned it. If they beat us in something, we're gonna post that report. We're gonna post that loss, and we're gonna say, hey, look, we gave it all we had, and these guys were too strong for us, and this is what happened. So we'll see. We'll see. We're looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I think
You have
Yep.
I
enough
think the Void
atomic
War
bombs?
matchups are always good. What was that?
I was asking if he had enough atomic bombs to kill the cockroach.
They, according to 877, he survives all of that. So there's not enough.
Is he killable? What's his BP?
He is killable. In fact, I think it was 908. I think 908 almost zeroed him in. I think it may have been a frenzy. Um, they chopped him down to 70 million BP. I don't know what he is right now, but yeah, for a C41 to be chopped down to 70 million, that's pretty close to nothing.
I mean, depending on the player, I think zero is probably around like 40 or somewhere along those lines, depending
Is
on
it?
buildings. So, yeah, I mean, his strength obviously comes into play and all that. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, seven. I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as he's killable, those are
He,
the fun ones. What about you?
he,
You guys have
he
what
is,
is your max BP city in your nation? Who's the fattest?
I want to say probably either Sirac or Rinaldi, and probably about 130.
Okay, yeah. So everyone's kind of with a good team. Everyone's fucking clippable at least.
Oh
So yeah,
yeah,
that should be
oh
fun,
yeah,
man.
oh yeah.
That
We're
should
we're
be
we're
fun.
definitely we're definitely vulnerable. That's for sure. So yeah,
Good.
Rinaldi is our top guy at 143.
Okay. Yeah, no, I saw him running around the other day, man.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. He's the speeder. He's a fast guy.
Cockroach fast or what? Cockroach,
he
that guy's fast, bro. I've played him some
he
polar, but
is.
that guy clicks fucking speed fast.
He is. Yeah, he's no joke. And Pasa the same. Pasa is way crazy strong. He is not burnable. We will not try to burn him. I'll bet you he's 400 million.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's a fatty for up there, damn.
Yeah, yeah. So we won't try a city, but
So,
we're not
are
afraid
you?
to see.
Are they potential? Do they have the potential to recruit and try and flip that type scenario? What does that
Yeah,
look like?
yeah, absolutely. In fact, we kind of heard through the grapevine that they were going to do that. So
Got it.
they're going to try to. I mean, I can't speak for them, but we did hear that they were going to recruit and bubble. We'll see.
Well, yeah, that's one of those reputation things, man. I don't know if you want that.
Yeah, I mean, they want to fight. They said they want to fight, so let's fight.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
probably want to fight on their terms, though. So, yeah, that'll be fun, man. That'll be a fun one to watch. I'm gonna be paying attention at least. So yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that
we'll-
I think you guys
we'll
are
be-
gonna pull that one off, though, for just
I
based
hope
off
so.
of the Elite War stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. We're going to give it our best shot, so we're going to try really hard.
All right, good. All right, well, it's football's over. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hit the sack myself. It's been a nice couple of hours. I do apologize for jumping in late. I had to handle a couple of things, but yeah, it's been a good little show tonight, man. I appreciate you guys being online and doing all this. So you guys have a nice evening and kick ass this week, man. We'll see you
Thanks.
next week.
Thanks.
You too.
Later, brothers. Peace.
Later.
Thank you.